It is your prisonplanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Congressman Ron Paul is going to be calling in sometime in the second half hour of this broadcast today to get into the accelerating debt bubble and how bad it's going to get, and some other breaking key intel. So former Congressman Ron Paul, I have to get used to saying that, is joining us coming up later in the hour, and then Mike Adams is going to be in studio with us today. And in case you missed it, we're going to probably air the first 5-10 minutes of one of the most prominent Second Amendment advocates out there. You know who that is, Ted Nugent, who I know lives north of Austin on a large ranch. He's been on the show many times over the last 15 years, but hadn't been on in about a year. He called into the show, and it was powerful radio because he wasn't in his promotions mode when he's doing, 5 interviews a day. A lot of people like that have a system where they do interviews in bulk a few times a year, and then that's it. And when they're not doing interviews, they're not doing them. And so when you get interviews with folks like that, and they're kind of on the circuit, you're just getting like a recording. That is not what happened yesterday, and we had some really good talks off air. He didn't say it was off record, but it'll just remain off record. Looks like I may drive up to interview him in the next month or so before he goes back on tour, or get him in studio, who knows. But in fact, guys, remind me, I'm not name dropping here. I already had his info before, but I never had his cell phone. Where's Ted's cell phone that I had written down here? I left it in here yesterday. I was supposed to call him last night. All right, well, I just forgot so that's another problem. I'm just completely overwhelmed. Literally. It's getting to the point where I don't even know what's going on anymore. Is that it? Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. Anyways, I was supposed to... And side issue, ladies and gentlemen. I get in here, I get on air, and then my brain kind of clicks on. I'm like, whoa. Well, you know how I tell stories. I start talking about something, and then I just kind of start regurgitating whatever's on the top of my mind concerning that. But pretty amazing stuff I talked about with Ted Nugent off air. So we'll see about getting him on air with us in a face-to-face interview, or at least over the phone. But wow, a lot of stuff going on in the world today. We're working on a very big news story that will damage the establishment media big time. I'll just leave it at that. It's top-level, A-plus scandal, 5-star scandal. But there's lots of cold feet stuff going on, and so I'm not worried about it, really. If God wants this information to come out, it will, and if God doesn't want this information to come out, it won't. And I'm the type of person that'll release it if I'm authorized to. It's confirmed. But if I'm not authorized to, then I'm not going to even push the people to cover it. And it's the kind of thing like I take a risk releasing stories like this. So it's kind of like, okay, I got the huevos to release this if it falls in my lap. And it's not any scandal stuff with hookers or anything, so there's no need for a hit team to come kill us. Plus, the government's listening to all the phones. They already know. People that have cold feet, there's really no need to, because the only thing you ought to have cold feet about is the fact that you're sitting on top stuff like that. But it deals with media things. I mean, it'll be a big news story, just to say the least. If it ends up coming out. Okay, I'm going to reset, refocus, and come back. It's a gigantic news day. And speaking of big news, there's some other big news that's going to be breaking tomorrow. Michael Savage is also joining us tomorrow, but that's a separate issue. And it's just things are all accelerating. But they're accelerating on so many other fronts as well. They call it a quickening. We'll be right back. Well, my friends, it's another Monday, the 25th day of February, 2013. Before we know it, 2013 will be a memory. And the Second Amendment and our republic and the dollar and our whole future if we don't get awake and involved right now. Okay, folks, we've got an unbelievably jam-packed broadcast today. Ron Paul's coming on in about 30 minutes. He'll be joining us, Congressman Ron Paul, former Congressman Ron Paul, about the economy and a lot more. So that is coming up with really the grand poobah of the libertarian constitutional movement. Ron Paul needs no introduction, and then Mike Adams will be breaking a whole bunch of important health news with organics and not just the horse meat in the beef food chain, but also we're going to be getting into the things you've really got to worry about, including not just fake fish or fish being substituted, but some really bizarre stuff on that front. I've not covered what's happening with the Vatican enough, and I do need to speak to that. Another cardinal is resigning, Cardinal Keith O'Brien, reportedly because of a string of boyfriends. And if it isn't true, why is he resigning, ladies and gentlemen? Why is Pope Benedict Ratzinger stepping down? The point here is, though, is that these scandals have been under the surface forever. Why is this all surfacing now? Well, what did I tell you months ago? They're only bringing out the Seville stuff with the BBC and the Satanism and the necrophilia and the torturing kids and the royal family to blackmail the royal family and the British establishment. The system could bring it down right now. The globalists, that's the mega banks, are blackmailing the Vatican right now. This is when you get down to the final end game in global government, is when they start knocking each other off, because there's been a sharing of power between the major players, and it is really coming to a head right now. Major globalist private intelligence infiltration of the Vatican, of the British royal family, and it's all being orchestrated by a handful of ultra-mega banks who control the entire globe, basically, at this point, and are mopping up a few countries that are left. Then they're going to mop up free speech, mop up the family, mop up your bank account, and bankrupt you as a tool of total economic domination, and then pose as saviors, collectivizing everything and putting you on welfare. They're now talking about going over 50 million Americans on food stamps, and food stamps for people's pets. And so everything will be paid for as long as you submit and take the vaccines and don't have children. That is going to be part of the larger program. And those of us that don't just want to be complete government slaves are going to be called terrorists. Now, this is a pretty nightmare program of the globalist, but it can be stopped if we speak out and realize the plan. But if we keep dialing into mainstream television and mainstream politics that only gives you a tiny sliver of the larger spectrum, we will be blind, we will be rudderless, we will be thrown upon the rocks and crushed in little bitty pieces societally. It is a very cold-blooded program, a scientific blueprint takeover, but knowing the blueprint and knowing how horrible it is for the general public is a way to trigger our survival instinct and to get humanity firing in the right direction against tyranny. That's why they try to sell giving up, being nihilistic, not caring, being into death, being into being a slave, while you still have plenty of food and water and entertainment. I mean, you know, these people thinking death and all this is sexy, and being slaves and being humiliated and being tortured is cool because it's, you know, cutting edge and because they don't care. They haven't really experienced it yet. So it is a fancy that has been sold to them that they think they like, but not a real fancy. Because if you really fancy something, you need to have experienced it and actually like it. Like, if you think you'd fancy having a dog when you're 17 and move out of home, and you put a big dog in a small apartment, it chews everything up and urinates all over the rug and everything and chews holes in the walls and ruins your life, and then you just dump the dog or give it to the pound. See, you aren't a real dog fancier. You didn't do what it took to actually train the dog, care about the dog, take the dog around with you. You don't actually like a dog. You weren't a true dog fancier. And those of you that fancy tyranny and you think it's powerful and it's a dark, mysterious flame that you are approaching, I will assure 99.9% of you who are laughing right now and think all this evil's funny, you will wish later you'd done something. Just denying it's happening or saying you don't care or saying, so what, humanity's a disease, let it happen. You are saying that from a position of someone that has not been in that lake, who has not swum in its waters. You say you're a veteran of evil. You say you're a veteran of being cool and narcissistic in your own mind. But all that is a coward's subconscious, Pavlovian, mass Stockholm, learned helplessness response that deep down your subconscious is telling you you're in mortal peril. But you don't respect yourself enough to admit to yourself how much peril you and our entire species is in, all of us. And so you then mock what your greater mind is warning you about. That is your coward response. It's no big deal. It's not a problem. Yes, it is a problem, and yes, it's real. And those of you that work for the system, in your little offices, in your little suits, and your black ties, and your national security clearance crud, live in the biggest propagandized echo chambers out there. And you, who see nothing, who say nothing, who hear nothing, you are fools, and you're on a fool's errand. You're not an assassin. You're a errand boy sent by the grocer to collect a debt. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me try to give you some of the headlines here ahead of Ron Paul coming on. And then Mike Adams in studio with breaking news. We'll have open phones the next hour, if I'm able to control myself and cover the news. Let me just give you some of the latest stuff that broke and then the top stories here. There is the new Watson article, just went live. Will you print it for me? I hadn't talked about it yet, but it's big breaking news, really big. It ties into this article. Lobbyist demands approval for lethal drones within the United States. Applewhite admits UAVs have been used for indiscriminate killings. And that's one of the main lobbyists for the drone outfit. And here is the breaking news. You got to hit refresh on prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com to get this, to get past our caching system. It takes about 15 minutes for articles to show up sometimes. Former Obama press secretary was ordered to act as if drone program did not exist. The first rule of the drone program is that you do not talk about the drone program. And no, that's Steve Watson's article on drones. The Paul Watson one has not broken yet. Okay. I told him to watch out for Watson's drone article. And so you can't blame him for bringing me one that Steve just did. They're such prolific. Right. And that isn't a big breaking news. I'll tell you what it is. And it should be out in the next 15, 20 minutes or so. Homeland Security has funded a new special drone specifically to hunt down gun owners. You can't make this up. We have the actual training video. I'm laughing because it's just so out of control. I mean, we're in a science fiction movie. They're poisoning the food and water. I've got articles here about China's cancer cities, as they're called, because their cancers are up 3, 4, 5,000%, depending on which type. So are ours. It's just such a joke when people are like, the government's there to protect us. Oh, it's not that bad, Alex. You know, they're not terrorists. You'd be dead. They haven't killed me yet because they believe it'll interfere in their computer simulation with their over-the-horizon Google crystal ball junk. It would mess up the simulation because I've been around for so long that it would validate everything I've said, and they know I've already covered every issue under the sun, and so they don't want that big trigger event yet. Don't worry, they plan on killing me later. Make no mistake. Yes, this is a death grip battle. This is a fight to the death, folks. I hope you realize that out there. This is not a game. This is not a joke. It's not some radio guy trying to sound shocking. I have studied reality. I have studied the enemy's own statements. And if anything, it's worse than I'm saying, okay? I want to explain something to you. A lot of people say, you scare me. No, I'm not trying to scare you. The scary stuff's going on whether you admit it or not. We've got to admit we're under attack and do something about it. Okay? That's what I'm here to tell you. And all of you that are delusional and think you're part of the winning power structure, you're not. At the end of this thing, you're dead, I'm dead. Okay? The globalists want global exterminism. You know, I've talked about it, but I still haven't played the video clip that Luke Radowski got in an interview with Michael Moore, where he said last week, hey, you don't need a gun, get a dog. This is a guy that has up to 6 bodyguards that are armed. They've been arrested for being armed in illegal, prohibited areas. I mean, this is a total hypocrite. And I was just thinking about that during the breaks while I mentioned it. Also, calling into the show was Ted Nugent yesterday. And it was not the Ted Nugent when he's out kind of as a machine doing interviews. It was the real Ted Nugent, which is similar to the Ted Nugent you hear on air. I'm not saying he's being disingenuous. I'm saying he was more candid and stuff on air and off air with me because now stuff's getting so hardcore. The things he's personally been experiencing. See, this isn't a game, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I keep trying to get across to you. This is not a game. The globalists see it as a game, and the whole world's a simulation. They have every person, every piece of equipment, everything in the world that they can track in giant Pentagon and other globalist simulations. That's on record. MIT, you name it. The RFID, the tracker chips, the smart grid that's going in. Sure, it's great to be able to turn the lights off at your house or see what's going on via a remote camera. The problem is it's all been designed and backdoored to control us. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a gun until a crazy person comes with a gun to kill you. And then you've got to have a gun to protect yourself, meet force with force. But here, the globalists run the whole system, and it's a whole level above anything we can technologically even understand. And it's a whole level of total war against the species and a full spectrum dominance where the global technocrats fund the enemies themselves and add that into the simulation to where it is a matrix-level false reality, but it's three-dimensional. The system is attempting to build a totally false construct where then you go out and simulate. The police don't even know why they call it their role, or the military, our role, or we're going to do this drill. It's all acting. And then Al-Qaeda works for the globalists, and only their top people know that. And then people are fighting and dying. It's a real war, but it's totally scripted, funded by the megabanks. The Vatican being brought down by the globalists for full control to put in their new puppet pope. Incredible. The British royalty being absolutely blackmailed right now with the pedophile scandal. The prime ministership, all of it. The Penn State, all of this is being activated now. It's always been going on. It's being activated now for blackmail purposes. See, everything is going hot right now. This is the time. We've entered the zone of the acceleration of the globalist program. That's why they're going after the guns. That's why they're shutting down the power plants. That's why they're opening up the borders. That's why it's all just going to get crazier from here on out. And we've been trying to shape the battlefield in the info war to get people ready. I knew a decade ago that, and I said this over and over again, that people weren't going to listen at the time, but they would remember what they heard as the next phase came in. And that our real power to wake people up and the great danger zone would be when our credibility rose to that level. And I didn't act bombastic and aggressive and crazy on air on purpose. That's really how I am. But God used that behavior that's entertaining to some to actually be chum in the water, to bring in the sharks, but to also create a spectacle so that people would pay attention and laugh at it in many cases. God works in mysterious ways, and now all these years later, see, people aren't laughing anymore. And they're going to laugh a lot less because myself and Ron Paul and G. Edward Griffin and Bob Chapman and thousands of others, the John Birch Society and so many others, when the media laughs and goes, John Birch Society, crazy kooks, never gives a reason why. It's because they were so dead on. So accurate, absolutely knew what was going on. So, those kooks, those crazy people, nobody listen to them because, oh my goodness, discredit that, oh my goodness, don't go there. Oh, my goodness, don't listen to them. Because of all of that, we have major capital, politically, economically, worldwide. That's why they're announcing, the Tea Party's dead, everyone hates it, Obama has won, total mandate for total takeover, as a self-fulfilling prophecy bandwagon effect on the weak-minded. The Republican leadership is, yes, we've all failed. Communism is the way to go. Socialism. Open the borders. Socialism. Turn your guns in. That's the Republican leadership in a huge hoax. Because what is the Tea Party? The real Tea Party is basically John Birch Society, constitutionalist. There's a New World Order foreign banking takeover of America to set up 3 global regions and world government. What's happened? The John Birch Society in the 50s and 60s cited everything. They had the government connections. They had the research. They had people killed over this information. And then it all came true, didn't it? Didn't it? Didn't it? Monday through Friday, 12 noon to 3 p.m. Eastern, we are live here, ladies and gentlemen. Weeknights, 7 o'clock Central, prisonplanet.tv. Ron Paul's going to be calling us, I think, in about 10 minutes. So look for some breaking news with the congressman on the economy and QE Unlimited. Instead of ranting about the nature of the New World Order and the decision we have to make, I just want to say this to everybody. Everyone can feel it. The quickening, the danger, how serious things are. And it's because the globalists have decided to devalue currencies in a coordinated function worldwide. And if you go to Infowars.com, there's a drone story. We've got another big breaking one coming up. There's a big story up on the site dealing with drones where the press secretary was told, act as if drone program doesn't exist, the illegal, unconstitutional violation of the Geneva Convention drone program, just killing people. They say if they appear to be fighting age males, they can just kill them, not even having weapons in their hands, going into countries that haven't authorized it on top of it. In a rare admission, Robert Gibbs, the former White House press secretary under Obama, told reporters Sunday that he was ordered to act as if there were no such thing as active U.S. drone program. And it's the same thing. There's no New World Order. There's no currency devaluation. The Federal Reserve isn't private. There's no gun confiscation plan. Well, 15, 16 states have introduced bills. They're already trying to confiscate semi-autos and stuff over 7 rounds in New York. Here's the Department of Justice memo that's now out. That's some of the big news, saying, yeah, let's just confiscate all the guns. Nope, there's no Justice Department. Well, yeah, there is. You ran fast and furious. Here's the memo where you said you'd blame it on the Second Amendment. CBS News got it. No, there's not. Doesn't exist. I mean, I've had ABC Nightly News here, the host of ABC Nightly News, forget his name, for Nightline. He also does that. And he goes, there's no world government. And I go, let me show you. And I had literally like 20 different videos and links to world leaders saying world government. And he goes, well, that's a different world government than what you're talking about. And he said, okay, let's go to the park and do an interview. We've done one in here. Let's do one in the park. So 30 minutes later, we're at the park. He's got his crew with him. And I go, well, you just saw them admit world government. And he goes, no, I didn't. I don't agree to that. And then we went to dinner, and he's like, oh, I know. How's your family doing? And he's like, yeah, I agree with what you said at the end. You know, you're a soldier. And he just stopped right there because I said, I'm here a soldier for what I stand for. You're a soldier on your side. That's how the first night line ended, was me saying that out there in the control room. And we're off having dinner with him and his crew. And he's just like, yeah, there's no world government. But there is, Alex. You're a nice guy. But I'm the anchor of ABC Nightly News. And I'm not forgetting his name to be obnoxious. I can't draw his name right now out of my memory. It just shows the mind game. And I sit there, and I'm like, I'm not playing your mind game, okay? There is a secret drone program. They do plan to have it domestically roll out. It's already rolled out. Now we have internal videos that these morons, not just one, but we're digging up more, that these morons put on a server and index to be public, promoting Homeland Security funding drones to spy on gun owners. You cannot make that up. Watson's got it going up very soon at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. I mean, this is the cuckoo level we've gotten to. And Robert Gibbs goes, yeah, I know I look dumb, but they told me to just act like it didn't exist. And this is, understand something, this is when it was on record it was going on. You'd see that with Bush's last, Perino, the blonde. She would get up there and they'd say, is the oil price going up because the dollar's being devalued? She would go, I cannot speak to that. And they would go, but the oil price is going up. She goes, I cannot speak to that. I mean, it's this wall of denial. And when you're informed, it's comical. But to the general public, they don't know. Most people don't even watch press conferences. Or if they do, they're in the media, and then they're lazy about it. They just repeat whatever government says. So you've got a huge, corrupt world government that's been set up. I mean, look at some of these headlines. Lobbyist demands approval for lethal drones within the United States. Former Obama press secretary was ordered to act as if drone program did not exist. Beretta tells Maryland it will move operations if gun law is enacted. And a bunch of gun manufacturers, as you know, over the weekend came out and said, we will no longer sell to government, federal or state, any of these firearms if you deny them to the citizens. And that's how you need to act, folks. Gun owners, gun shops, companies, corporations that aren't global traders, you do not do business with the enemy. This is life and death, folks. We've got to use the power of the purse that we have left in boycotts, or it's over. You've got to live for the rebellion against tyranny. You've got to live for the republic. Plus, if you do that and try to buy local, try to buy American, none of us are perfect, try to speak out against the globalist, vote with your dollars, vote with your mouth, vote with word of mouth, vote on the jury box, the grand jury. When you do that, it hurts the globalist. I mean, they need us to go along with them. They need us to buy into their system. You don't have to die for the revolution. You've got to live for the revolution. That's what Immortal Technique said, and I'm definitely going to, I know that's been said by others before, but it's absolutely true. You've got to define the real revolution, not the collectivist corporate fascist, not the collectivist socialist or communist, no. Real local control, real sustainability, not the fake UN counterfeit that's really unsustainability. See, everything with them has one label, but is the opposite. Or if you catch them doing something, they just go, no, you didn't. Hey, Wells Fargo, you got caught with Wachovia laundering $300 and something billion of drug money. No, we didn't. Well, yeah, I mean, here it is admitted in the news. No, we didn't. They play this game with you, hoping that you're not really informed, hoping that it just matters, well, you know, MSNBC says there's no New World Order and Alex Jones is crazy, but Alex Jones has all this proof, but MSNBC has a fancier-looking studio, and their people read off a teleprompter, so it looks slicker. I'm going to go with them. So here's some of the gun-grabbing news. DOJ memo, outlaw and confiscate all guns, Infowars.com. NRA's come out with the memo they got. And the White House has responded going, well, that's not our official policy, but it is the recommendation. Just shows that they're disingenuous. They want to confiscate your guns. And I know most of you know that, but the average gun owner still is going, they're unreasonable. Assault weapons aren't used in many crimes. Why do they want to ban them? That won't help the kids. It doesn't make sense. Because they don't care about the kids, folks. It's about disarming us ahead of an organized collapse. Go read the summary of select firearms violence prevention strategies. Go read it. Then we've got feds buy 2 billion rounds of ammo, and the DHS contractor, remember last Monday we broke this, on Friday apologized for selling shooting targets of children and said they were told to print up $2 million worth of these by Homeland Security, as if that's okay. And remember, even my listeners on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we got a major backlash saying this wasn't real, and there were false hoaxes run on the web saying we'd made it up. And those are obviously sock puppets, folks. When we had the company, and the company been recorded and put out a press release on Tuesday confirming our report, still people are saying this isn't real. Just like they were told to say there are no drones. We want to know about the drone program killing, 100-plus villagers and children illegally in Pakistan. There is no drone program. Well, yes, there is a drone program. Next question. No, there isn't. And see, it's more than that. The globalists admit they're practicing lying in our faces just to get us used to it, to where, yeah, that's just what they do. Crazy lies. Oh, there's no paper targets. There's no 1.6 million bullets. Remember the news said that a few weeks ago? There's no... Last year they said I made it up. Doesn't matter. It's all true, all public. They know you don't know how to go check a federal purchase order. They know you don't follow the links. Most mainline people watching CNN when they say I'm lying about it. They just go, no, it was only 2 million bullets for the DHS, not mentioning the fine print on CNN and then the Washington Post was they just focused on one little part of the purchase to say, oh, the Social Security Administration responds by saying they need that. So Jones is wrong about the 1.6 billion bullets. I mean, it's all just twisted lying. But it works with the dumbed-down mass out there. Because, I mean, if Will Blitzer standing there in a big glistening giant studio that looks like it's, the set of Dr. Evil's, command center or something, then, I mean, come on. It's Wolf Blitzer, folks. He's got a great beard. So that is the type of garbage that we are dealing with. Ron Paul called yet? Okay. Man, I tell you. I got a big stack of news here. Why is Walmart worried? Payroll taxes could cut consumer spending. That's out of the Christian Science Monitor. Could cut the spending? Could cut the spending. Spending has already contracted since the payroll taxes kicked in the last month. It's on record that consumer spending has already plunged and that hiring has plunged and that because of government-run health care, companies are laying off from 40 hours down to below 30 so that they don't have to get you Obamacare. It was written by big industry to hammer the American worker and drive you into the welfare rolls for collectivization. It was written by the big insurance companies to double premiums the first year and then allow them to tell doctors what care they can give, to double premiums and cut the care you get when you're paying for it. I mean, you couldn't have written something nastier. You couldn't have written something meaner. You couldn't have written something that would have wrecked health care worse than this. You absolutely could not have come up with something more diabolical. Now, he's only got about 15 minutes with us. Former Congressman Ron Paul, best-selling author, joins us. I wanted to get him on because he's been writing and speaking and posting articles at Campaign for Liberty, breaking down the bubble is really getting big, the QE Unlimited, the global currency crises, with the very authors of the currency crises posing as our saviors. And just last week, more proposals by the G20 for a Bank of the World SDR, that's global government, to back it all up. Ron Paul, Dr. Ron Paul, thank you for coming on, sir.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Can you give us the latest on your analysis on what's happening with the economy and this big event you've been talking about the last few years? How close are we right now? How serious is this currency war?
Well, I think in many ways we're in the middle of it. I think the evidence to the general public is still not there, and there's not been a panic. But the people in Washington and even our central bankers don't face up to the real truth of the matter, and that is we're totally bankrupt. And yet just putting more money and running up more debt seems to settle the markets. They don't dump their stocks. They don't dump their bonds. But we're in the middle of some unwinding. I think that this is so much different than anything we've gone through, since World War II, and especially even since 1971 with the breakdown of Bretton Woods. But one of these days we'll wake up some morning and realize that the whole world has given up on the system, just as we woke up one day and the world, and especially the Soviets, gave up on the Soviet Union, because the system we have, the monetary system we have, and the economic system is not viable. It can't work, and you can't solve the problem of debt with more debt. And when that particular day comes, I don't think anybody knows the exact day, but we're certainly getting very close to it.
Congressman, getting into specifics and your research there with the Von Mises Institute, pretty much everything you predicted in the last 30 years is now unfolding. From all my research, and even what the establishment's saying and the way they're behaving, it's all coming to a head. Now it's 2 billion rounds of bullets and hollow points that are illegal under the Geneva Convention. We've got a new report out where Homeland Security is funding domestic drones, and I'm not making this up, to, quote, track gun purchases. That just broke at Infowars.com. We see military drills expanding everywhere. We see the new Justice Department memo saying, hey, let's just ban guns and confiscate them. It's like I've woken up in an Orwellian nightmare. And we've got this normalcy bias, this mass Stockholm syndrome, where even mainline conservatives, I had Ted Nugent on yesterday, he said, look, the green light's been given on Benghazi, the green light's been given on all this other tyranny, Fast and Furious, nobody got in trouble. And so I think we've reached that point where the tyrants figure out that if they can take us an inch, why not take us a million miles?
No, and I've been getting away with it, but don't you think this has started a while back and it's just accelerating? And if you go back to what happened at Waco, if you go back to what happened at Ruby Ridge, I mean, if they can get away with it, they do it. And nobody ever got punished for those mistakes that were made, and now nobody gets punished at all. Matter of fact, the Congress goes along with it. The Congress doesn't really resist and put restraints on the president when it comes to kill lists and the use of drones and assassinations, and the funding continues. So it's a very dangerous time that we live in.
Undoubtedly, specifically with all the paramilitary buildup, the arms race going on domestically, what do you think the feds are planning? What do you think they're preparing for, Dr. Paul?
Well, I think they prepare for everything, and they themselves, go with the flow. They don't know exactly what will happen, but they're prepared. They don't know that in 2 months from now there's riots in the street, but they know that there could be. And the same way with the monetary system. They argue academically that, oh, yes, it's okay to print money and debt doesn't matter, the Paul Krugman argument. But I think they know exactly what can happen, the consequence that we warn about and try to prepare for, so they make their preparations, like I think you mentioned in your introduction about what they do at the international level under the UN and the IMF and the, these group of 20 and all these. They do plan. So we know what would be the answer. That is sound money and honest money and have commodity money. They want to maintain their power, so they're laying their plans too. But I don't think they know the day they're going to use it. They plan for all contingencies because the action of human beings are not predictable. But when certain events come about, they're laying their plans in their network. So, and it's really scary when you think about the drone. The drone thing should, wake up everybody on what they can do, how much surveillance, how many weapons can they carry when they pretend that they can target any one individual thousands of miles away from the United States with people who maneuver those things even here. What can they do if they decide, well, we're going after this drug dealer, we're going after this guy that owns an illegal weapon, who knows what? And what we do know is, in spite of their fantastic, ability, the advancement in these weapons, we do know that they make a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of collateral damage, and they just write it off. And so I would expect that the people in charge know that there's trouble ahead, and they're laying their plans to react in any way they think necessary.
Dr. Ron Paul is our guest here. Sir, undoubtedly, and I want you to break this down in your own words, but you've spoken to it before, but I marvel. We've had big government, we've had tyrannies before around the world, but the socialist collectivist class, funded by the big special interests that want a monopoly, obviously, of power, to write health care. Of course, you know about this being a retired medical doctor, but my dad's a dentist, oral surgeon. He's also in medical management. And he said to me, he said, son, I knew it when I read the bill, but he's watching it happen. Making people, raising payroll taxes on poor people, taxes on investments, doubling premiums this year. I mean, this is designed to kill the American economy that's competing with China. Obama shutting down the power plants. They are clearly trying to shut down the economy so that everybody goes on welfare and basically bankrupts. This is an economic takeover. Do you agree with that, or can you speak to that?
Absolutely. Now, I don't know if I have an absolute insight on all the motivations, because there's a mixture up there. I mean, there are evil people who have evil motives, and they want to do exactly what's happening. There are others, though, who are intellectually totally bankrupt and actually believe this stuff. I think Paul Krugman doesn't sit down and conspire to blow up the world financially. I think he sits down and he is dedicated to proving his philosophy on money and credit are the correct ones. And then there's a lot of other people who are very gullible out there. How many people did Obama lose the election? No, I mean,
but I mean, Obama said he was going to give poor people free stuff. He's literally raping them.
Yeah. So the people are naive enough to believe that. So you put all that together, and you end up with this calamity because they do not deal with the world as we would like to deal with it, and that is concentrating on individuals who have a right to their own life, have a right to keep the fruits of their labor, have property rights and contract rights and sound money, and get the government out of our way. So they don't work on that. They work on the opposite. But,
but Dr. Paul, here's my question.
Trying to figure out exactly their scheme and their plan and who did what when has to be counteracted by us getting out in front and saying there is a better way, and that way is something that we had a taste of in this country, and we're losing it. We need to wake up the American people that the answers are there for us. We just want to look. And I think in many ways that is happening. A lot more people are waking up, but it's going to be a terribly tough struggle.
Sure, I want to get into the Second Amendment. I don't know if you've seen this. It broke Friday, but you're always on to the news I bring up. Summary of select firearms violence prevention strategies for the White House by the Department of Justice actually says basically just outlaw almost all guns and make people turn them in. And now veterans are getting letters who haven't even been diagnosed as, quote, being incompetent, being told, prepare to turn your guns in. If they try to take the guns, Congressman, are they trying to start a civil war?
Well, that's once again is trying to interpret everything that they're thinking and they're planning. They're liable to start a civil war by doing it, and for whatever reason they are. But they don't believe that people should have guns. They believe the government should have guns, and they believe this very sincerely as a philosophy. So yes, whether that is exactly what they want. It's hard to say. But I know one thing is they don't want the people to have the guns. But it's one thing I think a lot about these problems, but I just don't think that the people are going to give up their guns.
I agree. This is when wars start, when both groups aren't giving up like two trains, and the politicians are off in their ivory towers drinking champagne, saying, let them eat cake. In closing, sir, we've only got about 3 minutes left. campaignforliberty.org. I know you've got some big announcements coming. What Dr. Paul's going to do now that you've left Congress, can you give us a little idea on when these announcements are going to be made so that we can all get behind it?
Yeah, I think, they're coming together now. It was recently announced about the radio broadcast that we'll be doing, and I feel very fortunate that we have that. But there will be others, and I would say in the next 3 months or so that we should have some of this coming out, and I'll have another book. And so a lot of people, thought that, I would be able to sit still and just watch this thing go on. And there's no way. I'm really excited about the opportunities I have now. My time is more my own. I get to travel when I want. I don't have to get on that airplane when John Boehner says I have to go up there to vote. So I have a lot more freedom and a lot more opportunities. And hopefully if I do a good job, I will reach more people, not less people. There were a lot of speeches I had to give when there were no people in the audience, when you talk at Congress. So I'm, like on Monday, I'm going to be at, a week from today, I'll be at George Washington University in Washington. Hopefully I have a nice crowd out there. So
you have only begun to fight. Campaignforliberty.org. How long until you get your website, Ron Paul? Well,
that's up in the air. We're still working on that, but I don't sit and worry about that. I know it's going to come out to our best, and we will be able to take care of it. There's enough flexibility out there. But, I lean toward believing that I'll once again be able to have ronpaul.com.
Very exciting. Sir, all I can say is Godspeed. We thank you for your work. Can we get you to call for impeachment of Obama for Fast and Furious? I know you're not in Congress now, but should we get a movement to try to impeach Obama?
Well, if you're energized to do that, I can think of other things to do. But people say, well, should he be impeached? Well, impeach him. I think no matter which president it was, probably for the past 50 years, for most likely I'd have found reason to impeach him and I'd impeach the whole Congress. So it's an overwhelming task to get everybody out of Washington that ought to be impeached or thrown out. But some people see that as a good tool. But
absolutely,
it's a political issue. And
thank you, Ron Paul. Thank you so much, sir. All right, we've got breaking news that should be up any minute. It's huge. And guys, get the video as soon as it goes live. Like Watson already had the video earlier today. We probably should have already gotten it. Call Watson, ask him. I forgot to tell you that. Of the drone video he's got. Ask him for that immediately so that we have that as soon as the article comes out in the next 10, 15 minutes. Just incredible information on the drone front. I'm just going to leave it at that. And I will get to a ton of news as well. Oh, it's up. It just went live. Okay, video. DHS-funded drone spies on private gun sale. I'm not kidding. You cannot make this up. You cannot make this up. Now live at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. And just hit refresh, because we don't have auto-refresh on the site. We probably should put that in there. But people can complain. Maybe we should set auto-refresh to every hour or something, because people don't remember to hit refresh and they have yesterday's news up there. Because, see, we have to use caching because our site gets so many visitors, or the site would go down. But then it's a cache-heavy site. I don't want to get into internet stuff. I'm going to cover this when we come back from break. So this has now gone live at Infowars.com. In fact, guys, dial up Watson. Let's get him on Skype right now. Yeah, let's just call Watson, get him in front of the Skype for the next segment, and then get that video grabbed as fast as you can. And you know what? This dovetails with the video. I never aired all of it last week. The one about the Pentagon mini drones, where the big mama drone flies over the mothership and then drops the drones on you. I'm going to cover this, and then I'm going to go to your phone calls, and I'll give the number out in the next segment. And then I want to ask listeners, we've got a total arms race by our so-called government that's been hijacked by foreign banks. You got the media involved in collaboration selling total tyranny as if it's a loving thing like mommy making you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's time to say no to this, and it's time to admit how hardcore everything's gotten. And then we're also going to get to the Ted Nugent video. Ted Nugent called into the show yesterday, and I want to air the first 5 minutes of it. Jakari Jackson's going to cut the 20-minute interview or so down to like 5 minutes, some of the highlights. It was a pretty good interview with Ted Nugent, and he's getting harassed something fierce by the feds right now. So that's coming up as well. But, it really makes me mad, as I talked about with Congressman Ron Paul, who just joined us. It really, really angers me at a fundamental level that the system is trying to bankrupt poor people, to put them on welfare, to then start cutting the welfare later. It's bad enough to make somebody dependent, but then to make them dependent and then cut it off incrementally in just a slow anaconda or boa constrictor kill. I'm not taking this sitting down, is my point. And it's not that I'm a hero or a tough guy, but any mammal out there, if you corner it, it will fight back. And I'm still wired that way. And it's pathetic that people see that as so honorable. This happened everywhere I went this weekend. Everywhere I went this weekend, basically everyone knew who I was and was a listener. I mean, I drove, 30 miles outside Austin to a small town. It happened there. And I don't mind it, except that it's weird to never have, any privacy. And I'm not talking about that to go, oh, I'm famous. No, I mean, listen, I can go to Minnesota. I can go to Chicago. I can go to New York City. I can go to California. I can go to Honduras, and I've been to Honduras, and people stop me walking down the street. Large numbers of them. But now, I could go to England 7, 8 years ago and have like every 20, 30th person I walk by stop and be a listener. Now it's like, I don't know how this show's so big because the numbers aren't there. Sure, we show about 15 million people one way or another every week hear or see the show, but this is a lot bigger than that. I don't know what's going on. But we should be able to take the country back with this many people awake. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this Monday edition. We have breaking news right now. Video, DHS-funded drone spies on private gun sales. A company hired and paid to produce drones specifically to spy on the American people. This is breaking on Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, Infowars Nightly News, exclusive. Right now, this is big. You tie it into veterans by, it's got to be the tens of thousands. I ran into people this weekend who are vets, who have no background in mental illness, getting letters saying, prepare to turn your guns in. The NRA got a hold of the memo. The White House responded saying it is their memo from the Justice Department saying we need to register all the guns and then confiscate them basically all. It says all guns are bad. They should just all be taken. Incredible. And then they say only 35 people actually died to mass shooting, which is true. They say it's 87, but they go on to say most of those were gangs killing each other. So it was only 35. And so they use that to say, let's just take them all. You've got that, the 2 billion rounds of ammo, the military training for domestic operations, the Army manuals for gun confiscation, the Army manuals for domestic FEMA camps. All official. Just type in Army manual FEMA camp. It's all official. Army Times, you name it. It's crazy, ladies and gentlemen. It's crazy what's going on. But if we can force a public debate about this, it's unconstitutional, it's illegal, we can reverse it and say, no, we don't want smart meters spying on all of our appliances and tracking us, as the CIA director had told Wired magazine they do. We told you that 10 years ago, but it's in your face because they're just getting you used to it. Yeah, we're watching your kids at home over the laptops that the school gave them that you paid for with tax money. Well, that's 1984. No, it's no big deal. Again, Robert Gibbs has now gone public saying he was told to just say drones didn't even exist, even when they were admitted, the drone program. Because they're talking to an audience that is dumbed down. They're targeting the general public as if we're a bunch of idiots. So you've got this massive buildup against the people. And you've got the paper targets of gun owners and women and children and a lady in her bathrobe and a 5-year-old boy. And it says, no hesitation. These are your new targets. The company apologized, but said, hey, Homeland Security bought 2 million of these from us, $2 million worth. They asked for these. One of the biggest paper target makers in the country. And again, ladies and gentlemen, this is outrageous what's going on. This is outrageous that the Marines and Army are training in mass programs of just mowing down thousands of people dressed as U.S. civilians. But it's okay because they use the code that they're zombies. So you have a giant buildup by our so-called government to kill us. Enough bullets to kill every American 6 times now. Over 2 billion rounds. The strike vehicles, the tanks, the helicopters, the drones. All of this. DHS video. DHS-funded drone spies on private gun sale. Incredible. Promotional material for Shadow Hawk depicts firearms transaction as criminal activity. The promotional video for a surveillance drone now being purchased by law enforcement bodies across the country with the aid of DHS funding shows a UAV spying on a private gun sale. Now, again, everything, not just this. If it was just this, you know, it'd be worrisome, but it's hundreds of data points. It's all about, what does the Homeland Security Manual say? Gun owners, conservatives, libertarians, constitutionalists, in the fetters, Ron Paul supporters, anti-New World Order people, conspiracy theorists. But what's number one? Returning veterans. Returning. They even have, we broke this years ago, but it suddenly got in the news last week, the first class of FEMA Corps being graduated, paramilitary. I have the article, New Defense Clandestine Service blends civilian and military operations, that domestic security force with a base goon-level schmuck, tattletale, Chivano, I guess that's what Tony Montana, a rat, a spy. You want a Chivano on every corner, watching you, telling you what to eat, when to sleep, what to wear. You like squid? You a sheep? Bah, bah. I mean, come on, folks. This is classical hardcore tyranny. The biggest, fattest, ugliest thing the world's ever seen, in our face, using military tactics of saying, I don't exist, I don't exist, I don't exist. Let me explain something to the globalist. You see 10 million guns a month being sold. You see the panic out there for a real reason. Sometimes the panic's a good thing. Get people out of their trance. America knows about the foreign takeover. What I'm talking about is now being picked up by every other major talk show host. You understand that? Not because I'm some great person. I was just someone aware of it before others who didn't care how I sounded and didn't care about how many radio stations I was on because I had to get the word out any way I could. I just mailed out 150,000 free bumper stickers. Even paid for the shipping. I'd mail out 10 million if I had the money. But I'm so busy covering news, I don't even plug money. Go to InfoWarsShop.com. Buy ProPure water filters. It already has the lowest price. Buy shirts, DVDs, films, books. Buy it all. I'm telling you, if I got $1 million donation right now, I'd spend 100% of it on mailing out, I don't know how many. It would cost $35,000 for the stickers and the shipping. About 32,000, 33,000, I forget. The point is, how many would $1 million worth of bumper stickers? And the average bumper sticker is seen by 20,000 people in 1 year, in its lifetime. Average lifetime about a year, 12 months, some last longer. It'd be billions of views, billions. I mean, listen, this is real, folks. I'm willing to die for this information. But I intend to win the info war with God's help. You are living at the crossroads. This is an incredible time to be alive. Everything's happening right now, and it's just started. The fuse is lit, folks. All the stuff you see is just the fuse burning. The explosion, politically, is either going to go into total tyranny, and they're going to use that to totally take over, or we, like judo, use their energy against them and rip their arms politically out of their sockets. And I'm telling you, this is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. This is the big enchilada right here. This is it right now. Listen, you got to act now. You don't act later like, well, what do I do? Speak out. Warn people. Call and talk radio. Go speak at city council. Hit your knees and say, God, I want to fight the corruption. I want to defend the innocent. God, tell me what to do. Believe me. Believe me. You know what God really likes? I'm telling you this from experience. God likes you just saying, hey, I'm not praying for anything except please have me do what you want. I'm weak. Take me over. That's the prayer right there. Take me over. I'm yours. I'm yours. I'm yours. Okay, that's the answer. Because this is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the big one, okay? Everybody can feel it. Everybody can see it. It's all just going to get crazier from here on out. Listen to this promotional video for the surveillance drone now being purchased. You guys can start rolling it over me. The promotional video for surveillance drone now being purchased by law enforcement bodies across the country with the aid of DHS funding shows a UAV spying on a private gun sale. The promotional video for a surveillance drone now being purchased by law enforcement bodies across the country with the aid of DHS funding shows a UAV spying on a private gun sale, falsely depicting the scenario as a criminal activity. That's how they do it. It's a psych warfare. Notice Paul gets that. It is important to emphasize that private firearm sales without background checks are not illegal under current law in the United States, although gun control advocates are feverishly trying to change that with new legislation. The government claims that 40% of all gun sales are conducted without background checks. And it goes into the Shadow Hawk drone, and Homeland Security is paying for thousands of these to be delivered to counties all over the country. In fact, a bunch of these have been delivered to Texas. In fact, this training video is from Texas. And he got this out quickly. He did a great job. He breaks down how it's all part of a huge arms buildup. I'm going to have Paul add to this. Oh, look at that. It's Patriot types. Look, he's dressed like a good old boy. Look at that. He's dressed like a Texan right there. All the training manuals, all the training videos. When the Marines train, they train to kill their daddy. Look at this. Be advised, they are spying on the guy buying a handgun. This whole thing is for gun owners. And I'm going to have Paul add the civilian inmate labor camp program into that. I'm going to have him add all the military training to go after gun owners in that, and the fact that they say the gun owners are the big target. I mean, this is all pointed at you. A huge arms buildup against the American people. And they've got crosshairs on the folks that are buying the gun. So what's Homeland Security for? A gun confiscation civil war in America. Yeah, now he's showing him an AR-15.
Looks to have optics, flashlight added on.
Oh, this is so evil. Again, they're casting gun owners as criminals. I want to bring Paul Watson up. We're going to break here in just a moment. Paul Watson, I mean, you add all this together, all these data points. I mean, this is crazy. And now they're saying today, you wrote another article, they want to use these drones against us publicly, and they already are in places like North Dakota and in the Dorner case. Paul Watson.
Well, yeah, that was a lobbyist at a recent House committee hearing in Washington State. And he basically admits, this is Paul Applewhite, whose company was founded to provide unmanned systems and training to government and industry. So he's in bed with them. And he basically says, not only have they been doing targeted killings abroad, of course we know 5,000 people, most of them completely innocent, have been killed by armed drones, but they've been doing indiscriminate targeting of people abroad. So that's a new one. And then he advocates that police departments across the United States be given the power to use armed drones to conduct manhunts, like we saw with the Christopher Dorner thing.
Absolutely. It's total militarization, total Pentagon takeover. And who do they work for? The collaborators work for the foreign banks. And military, there's not going to be military soon. It's all going to be drones and robots. Here's the story right here. Activists launch campaign against autonomous weapons. Killer robots must be stopped. Stay there, Paul Watson. We'll come back to you. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if I rant and rave a bit, it's because if I saw people robbing and beating my neighbors, I'd get all upset and hop up and down like a wild dog. That's how you're supposed to act. I mean, you're supposed to get upset. You're supposed to. That's why CNN hadn't had me back, because that was breaking people out of their trance. A lot of people, probably 30%, were very uncomfortable by it. Oh my gosh, gun owners shouldn't be that upset and yell. That makes us look bad. And the media tried to spin it like that, but then backed off because, no, wait a minute. They are trying to take our guns. They are lying. Piers Morgan's not being reasonable. He doesn't care about kids. He's exploiting them. That's outrageous. You're going to start another revolution. People need to know the response they need to have. And it's the same thing with these drones. You're going to take our money and militarize everything when clearly you're preparing for war with the best people in this country, hardworking constitutionalist veterans and people like that? That's outrageous. Where are the congressional investigations? Where are the arrests? Where are the impeachments? And now, the main helicopter, that's what it is, a medium-sized helicopter drone, same one they crashed down, and Katie bought one and crashed it outside Houston. They're buying tons of these for local departments. And what are the training videos and the advertisement? Guys selling guns to each other. I mean, give me a break. You're going to stop criminals having guns. It's the idea of gun owners being criminal. The DHS targets all of it. Paul Watson, who broke this news at Infowars.com just 25 minutes ago, joins us. Paul, break down your take on this. And again, the calls in Congress by lobbyists and others. Again, they're just getting us used to it for the Skynet drones. Go ahead.
Well, this is a $500,000 drone. It's being funded by the Department of Homeland Security because they're paying for half of it when police departments buy it. So they're putting forward $250,000. It's a 50-pound mini helicopter. And according to the website of the makers, Vanguard Defense Industries, it can be fitted with tasers that can shoot barbs up to 100 feet. It can be fitted with 12-gauge shotguns and grenade launchers. So while it depicts the American citizens as engaging in criminal activity for selling firearms, they're preparing to put firearms on these drones, and they've got people lobbying for them to be used domestically to hunt down suspects, so then the police can become, you know, Judge Dredd, judge, jury, and executioner inside the United States after they've already killed thousands and thousands of innocent people with armed drones abroad. But the comments are interesting, Alex, because, you know, every time we put an article out, it's like, fake, this is fake. People said it about the shooting targets of pregnant women and children. The company later had to apologize.
They said it about the 1.6 billion bullets, just like Gibbs was told, say there's no drones. It's just, this is a psyop, yeah.
It's like confirmation bias in reverse, just anything to deny reality. And it's real. You can go on the Vanguard Industries website, and that's their official YouTube channel. You can go on that and watch this same video clip, which is where I got it from. And then there's another one who says that the long rifle depicted in the clip is an SBR short-barreled rifle, which requires Class 3 paperwork, meaning it is illegal, and therefore it's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, that's not true either. It's the short-barrel stuff is on shotguns. Unbelievable loads of bull. It's the feds. It's sock puppets and feds crawling all over Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, and it's important to point them out and to go look up sock puppets. This is not a joke. The Department of Defense admits they have hundreds of thousands of private contractors, hundreds of thousands engaging in domestic propaganda against the American people. All of it illegal. Our government has taken over. It is illegitimate. Go ahead, Paul.
And it's all part of this slippery slope to approving, authorizing, justifying the use of armed drones against American citizens on U.S. soil. CNN, a couple of weeks ago, Erin Burnett, she was on there advocating armed drones be used against Christopher Dorner. And again, they'll use a test case like that, who, you know, a cop killer, to legitimize it. And then eventually, you know, it's spying on gun owners, as is depicted in this clip. And the whole thing behind it is, it links criminal clandestine activity with gun sales. So, yeah, they may be portrayed as criminals in this clip, but they're selling guns and they're making that association. That's the whole point. Meanwhile, the DHS is buying 2 billion rounds of ammo. They're buying 7,000 fully automatic assault weapons and calling them personal defense weapons. And yet Americans are under suspicion for selling handguns privately. So we know where this is all going. It's preparation for mass civil unrest. That's why they're doing all this.
Absolutely. I'm going to say this very slowly for everyone. I know most of you know this, but we've got to get this out to everybody. I'm going to say it very slowly. In all the training manuals, the targets, the preparation, the target is law-abiding citizens. The government is preparing for a Soviet-style purge of the American people. This is a red-level emergency. The government is evil. Paul, stay there. I have a few more questions. I want to get your view as listeners on the giant arms buildup, the memos going out to veterans to turn their guns in, the DHS memo saying they want total gun confiscation, the billions of rounds of ammo, the paper targets, the training manuals that gun owners, conservatives, libertarians are the enemy. I mean, this is like 1918 Russia. And if we follow the orders of this illegitimate criminal government, it's over. I mean, they are really horrible people. They plan on fully gutting this country. Toll-free number to join us, 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. Paul, last week we aired part of a video, we'll play some more of it in a moment, with the Air Force showing a drone flying over and launching little drones that land on your power line and spy on you. Well, that's what the smart meters already do. You just pay to have them put on the side of your house illegally. The boldness of this takeover, but it's accelerating for the collapse. I mean, does the system really think some drones and some spy systems? People, it's not going to matter spying and having intel on people when they hate your guts and know you're a foreign occupier. It doesn't matter. I mean, I get these calls about, oh my gosh, the military will get us. The military, we've already woke them up. The globalists couldn't hold Baghdad with 100,000 troops. I'm sick of this. I mean, we'd have to be the most cowardly, pathetic people in the world to keep putting up with all this. But then I see the general public watching the Oscars and sucking their thumbs. I mean, it's quite a spectacle. Go ahead.
Well, I guess the people who matter, Alex, aren't going to turn their guns in because they're not the people sucking their thumbs, are they? I mean, those people in Katrina, a lot of them turned their guns in, so it's whether people are delusional enough to believe the lie that it's for their safety, which is what they're going to be told. But you mentioned 1918 Russia. I put out an article on Friday with a Russian communist propaganda poster from 1918 where it says, "Comrades, turn your guns in," which of course is a chilling resemblance to the Dianne Feinstein quote. But I've noticed in the aftermath of your appearance on Piers Morgan, there's been this kind of meme on behalf of gun control advocates and statists saying, and they've completely taken over the Google search results in this, saying, Hitler never took the guns, Stalin never took the guns. They're trying to literally rewrite history to claim that tyrannical, barbaric regimes in history did not engage in
I saw your
control.
article. And Salon and CNN, they've got the top links along with Nazi groups saying Hitler didn't take guns. Well, technically, Weimar Republic had gun restrictions on the books. Then Hitler selectively enforced them. It is a load of crap that Hitler didn't take guns, not just in Germany, but all over occupied areas. And yes, you have all the liberal sites that are really authoritarians going, no one ever took guns for authoritarianism. Absolute complete bull.
Well, Nazi weapons law, November 11, 1938, prohibited the Jews, quote, from acquiring, possessing and carrying firearms and ammunition. That's a direct quote from Hitler's law. So yeah, he took existing gun control laws, tightened them to a draconian level, and then put people in prison and killed them if they violated those laws. And then you had the Warsaw Ghetto, of course, which was only unsuccessful because the Jews did not have an adequate access to firearms. And in fact, Goebbels wrote in his diary after the fact, quote, "This just shows what you can expect from Jews if they lay hands on weapons." And then you look at, as he said,
No,
Russia.
Salon and CNN and the Daily Beast, Hitler didn't take any guns. He was a nice guy. Come on. Man, now you're going to say Hitler was bad, Paul? I mean, you are a right-wing extremist. Why don't you agree with Time Magazine that Hitler didn't take any guns?
And Stalin was a nice fellow as well, apparently.
Oh, well, hey, let me show the article. Here it is. Communist propaganda poster, comrades turn in your weapons, and it's on record they took the guns, but that doesn't exist because CNN says so. Okay? Okay.
And in this article, I cite history books written by noted historians, and they talk about Stalin. In 1918, the communist government banned private ownership of firearms. First, it was registration, then they banned them. The punishment was 6 months in prison. Then Stalin comes along later. The punishment for possession of firearms by a private citizen who is not a Communist Party member is death. So to claim that Stalin, and of course Stalin's model was mimicked in China and Cambodia, same result, gun confiscation, mass genocide.
No. No. There's no drones either. Paul, it's like ABC News when they were here. They said nobody's calling for world government. And I showed them the clips, and they said that's a different world government. Everything's fine, Paul. Come on.
And the shooting targets put out by the DHS contractor were all fake. They never existed.
It's ridiculous, the propaganda.
But, you know, you're Bill Hicks, I'm a lizard. That's documented. That's important to discuss.
Oh, and it is entertaining. Keep it coming. More, please. No, seriously, in closing here, and I'm going to play a clip from this Air Force training video and then play a clip from Ted Nugent with us yesterday when he called in, and then we're going to go to your phone calls ahead of Mike Adams coming in studio. There's some type of diversion on the road, so maybe a little bit late, but Mike Adams breaking news coming up as well. In closing, I just want to say this, folks, support us. I want to finish the new studios. I want to do the satellite uplinks. I've got a bunch of money I got to spend. And the more money comes into our operation, the more we can fight. And is there any place out there hitting the globalist harder every day than Infowars.com? Yeah, drugsreport.com. And thank God they're carrying some of our news and helping magnify that as well. But when it comes to really fighting the globalists, we're the best there is. And we need your support. And we're able now to force this news out to get the other big talk show hosts to cover it. We're having major breakthroughs right now. So whether it's a ball cap, a camouflage, Don't Tread on Me, Infowars.com, or an Obama Joker shirt, or a Don't Tread on Me shirt, or a Come and Take It shirt with the Second Amendment written in it, buy water filters, you name it, at InfoWarsStore.com. That's InfoWarsStore.com, or call toll-free 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139, and click on all our sponsors at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com and try to support those sponsors. We have a ton of ads on the website just because it's an old format. We're going to try to change that down the road. There's more news on the side and stuff. But try to click on the sponsors themselves and support them because there's so much I want to do. I mean, there's just so much. If we have the capital, we can do. But and I know how bad the economy is as well. I know they're really trying to squeeze people out there. So those of you that do have worth, those of you financial worth, those of you that do have the extra capital, you should be buying from us books, videos, materials, and giving them to others. Even if you're totally awake, you should be buying the Alex Jones Everything Special 20-something films. You should be getting all the other books and videos, the high-quality water filters, all of it, because not only do you get a great deal, you support the transmission and spread the word about the show as well. Paul Watson, anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's it, Alex. Subscribe to PrisonPlanet.tv.
Absolutely. PrisonPlanet.tv. You get 11 memberships for $5.95 a month now, so you can give it to 11 people who can simultaneously log in at one time. It's really more than that. And PrisonPlanet.tv is exploding because of that system we've launched. It's all about reaching more people. So become a mega subscriber. I mean, go get one membership and give it to your friends and family on username, passcode. Boom, PrisonPlanet.tv. All right, thank you, Paul Watson.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to play a few minutes of this just because it was so interesting. It was exciting. I mean, I've had Ted Nugent on probably 10 times over the years. But Ted Nugent called into the show yesterday because he lives down here in Texas. Every time I say that, people go, really? I thought he lives in Michigan. He's got a place in Michigan, too, but he lives here pretty much full time. I know folks that are friends with him and go shooting with him. He has a ranch north of Austin, in between Austin and Waco. So I don't know how else to explain that to people, but I assure you. And we're going to be getting him on the show very, very soon. In fact, the date's already been set now. They got back with us today. And so he's going to break some information here on the show. I'll just leave it at that. We've got some other big guests tomorrow. Michael Savage is going to be joining us. And then we've got other big breaking news we're working on. And then, well, there's a bunch of stuff this week. When it rains, it pours. And people are really waking up right now. And the quickening is happening. And more people are reaching out to us because they're like, man, I thought you're a little out there, but it's all happening. Hey, I don't deserve any credit. The globalists are all public about what they do. They just play these mind games of, no one ever took guns. No, they didn't take guns anywhere. People are like, are you sure, Alex? Because they say no guns were taken. You know, they said they didn't burn down Dorner. And I'm like, there's 6 different videos of them saying we're going to burn the house down. Well, are you sure, Alex? They wouldn't lie. Because if they're lying about that, that means they're bad. And then that's kind of scary. So I'll just say they don't lie to us. Folks, it's reaching a rotting point, a busting point, and a flash point. Let's go ahead and go to a clip of this and then to your phone calls. Here's Ted Nugent. And we're answering the phones in there. Give the number out. First caller comes in. We open the phones up. It's Ted Nugent. Because our phones aren't just open on the Sunday show. It's a computerized phone system. You have to turn it on. He turns the phone system on. Boom. Yeah, this is Ted Nugent driving in. I want to come on and talk about what Alex is talking about and thank him. And so while I'm playing a video clip, I'm going, okay, ask him. Well, I think I tell the story here, so here it is. Now, I was down at the Piers Morgan thing in New York, but also in Houston, in Katy a few weeks ago. They're covering it when he was down there. And I saw Ted Nugent drive through, waved at him. He rolled down the window and said, I'll kick their butt for you, and drove in to the building where I'd been earlier. There at the Tactical Firearms. And a fella called in saying he was Ted Nugent, who's been on the show probably 10 times in the last 15 years or so. In fact, I've been trying to get him on lately. Somebody called in saying they're Ted Nugent. And I said, okay, ask him, because I don't have time. I couldn't talk to him just now and run out there and find out who they are and make sure it's Ted. I said, ask him what he drove into the Piers Morgan thing in Houston in. And he said, my Pilot's cruddy gray SUV. So it's either Ted Nugent or it's somebody that was there and knew. So I'm very excited to get Uncle Ted on with us. If it's Uncle Ted, I'll recognize his voice. Is that Uncle Ted?
Alex, greetings from the self-evident truth army that supports everything you do, man. That was definitely me in that cruddy SUV, and I'm just calling to let you know that those of us who dance on the skull of Piers Morgan ought to communicate more often, because you did God's work, man, and I'm calling in to say thank you.
Oh, no, I want to thank you. Hey, I know you're a busy guy, but when can I get you on the show?
We need to do it soon. I'm really, really busy these days. I just happened to have a wonderful dinner with my daughter in Houston. I got in my truck on my way back home to Waco, and I heard you coming on the air with the new telephone number, so I dialed it. I figured I'd just jump in and say hello.
Well, listen, can you do maybe 10 minutes with us while you're driving?
Yeah, I think as long as I got a signal, I'd be more than happy to, because what you're celebrating and what you're sharing with the radio listeners out there is indisputable. It's irrefutable, and I got to thank you, because it's so late in coming that those of us with the balls and the inside view of the criminality of this government right now, the unprecedented abuse of power and corruption and fraud and deceit by the Chicago gangster scammer Acorn in chief. It's so diabolical that I just wanted to say thank you from the trenches.
No, all right. Please don't thank me, sir. We want to get your take. Absolutely. And there's like 18 minutes more of it up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. But he said he's going to break some info here on the show very, very soon, and he has been set back up for the show. But it conflicts with another interview I'm doing, so we're going to tape it. But anyways, we're going to get him back on the broadcast. Very exciting to have that happen. Things are always fun when they're a surprise. That's why I always surprise people with news or big guests, because I like surprises. Some people don't like surprises. My lawyer calls me or something. I don't like those kind of surprises. But right now, let's go to your phone calls for those of you that have been patiently holding the last few minutes. Let's go and talk to Zachary. No, Joe in California is first, then Zachary. Joe in California, you're on the air. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Alex. You're doing God's work, and I salute you.
Well, thank you, brother. Go ahead.
I want to talk to you about drones on two brief issues. One, there is a good use for drones. I say we fly one into the Bohemian Grove on the cremation of care and break up their little ceremony.
You know, we've actually talked about doing that. And believe me, the Secret Service would probably go completely wild on you about that. But, hey, you're watching us. Aren't these the crooks that need to be washed? You make a really good point.
Well, the nice thing is it sends the footage back to your smartphone. So even if they took down the unmanned aerial device, we would still have the footage. And they can take one of us down, but if we send in those drones every single year...
Well, that's why they're saying, we'll protect you from the drones. We need state and federal laws, which then ban citizens having drones so only the establishment can. You know, it's like, we'll deal with congressional insider trading, and then they legalize it, claiming they criminalized it when it was already illegal. Go ahead.
They need to know there's nowhere they can hide. And the second issue I wanted to bring up just briefly, I know it's important that you have good relations with anybody, especially Michael Savage. He has a huge audience. However, I hope that you can respectfully hold his feet to the fire with his take on drones. Just last week, he mocked his audience for their mistrust of the Obama administration and Eric Holder. He supports the legal case for using drone strikes on Americans. He supports the official story of Anwar al-Awlaki. He never mentions the fact that Anwar al-Awlaki died at the Pentagon. He doesn't talk about the shoe bomber, the underpants bomber, the Fort Hood shooter. He calls his listeners knee-jerk neocons and nervous Nelly media conservatives because they question Eric Holder.
Well, let me just be clear. I didn't hear him say all that, but I'm getting him on about his book. And my issue is, he didn't say, hey, don't ask me tough questions. But when somebody asks, well, what do you want me on about? And then I'm honest with them what it's about. I'm not going to sneak attack somebody on my show. I'll ask him if he wants to take some phone calls. I mean, maybe you can call in then. But see, I can't just say, hey, you said this and that. I'm not saying you're lying, but it might be your interpretation as well. I just can't go off of what you say. But I'm going to get Savage on. All I know is Savage talked about Obama staging false flags, Obama's domestic army, Obama coming after the guns, the New World Order. Of all the big mainline talk show hosts out there, I mean, I think Savage is the best. I know this Savage doesn't work behind the scenes to try to shut my show down and cause it problems and mess with sponsors and things like someone else does. And so my whole issue is he's not an empty suit. And I work with WorldNet Daily. He works with them. And so we'll see what happens tomorrow. But I'm not going to, it's not that I'm going to sit here and do a softball interview. I've got him coming on about the big threat, the New World Order, Obama, all this other stuff. And so, but send me emails. Send me the facts on what you're saying there. Because, you know, so much stuff that ends up getting said about Savage, you go look it up and it's not true. Or it's a forgery or it's twisted. I mean, you know, I had some guy walk up to me this weekend while I'm eating with my family at a restaurant and say he was a fan, but I could tell by the way he was looking at me. I was like, oh, every once in a while it happens. And he's like, how do I know you're not with the government or whatever? And I'm like, hey, man, believe whatever you want. It's a cop-out to sit there and ask, because it puts them on a moral high horse. Like, I'm questioning you with no proof. You know, if somebody's got the proof of something wrong I've done, bring it. Okay, I'm here fighting tyranny. It's obvious. See, I'd rather get to know Michael Savage and then try to influence him that way than just get him on here and try to act like I've got a bigger, you know what, than he does. See, I'm not in competition with people. I told him that on the phone. He didn't really bring that subject up, but it came up one way. And I mean, I want this country back. I want this world back. I don't want to give in to total tyranny. I mean, this is life and death for me because I know the score. This is not about who's number one or who's on the most stations. If I wanted to do that, folks, I would have taken the deal and been the next Glenn Beck. TV deals, the books, all of it. I was offered the exact same thing, and 2 years later, Glenn Beck came along. And that's how it works. These radio executives go out and find people that they think can do certain things, and then they create shows and then program them. And I was told the same thing 4 different times by different high-level executives, different companies, the same story. How you don't have to worry. We will show you how to be number one, and this is what we're going to do. And that just does not interest me. Changing history for the better interests me. Standing up against evil, not having this nightmare New World Order takeover. I mean, if most people working for the system, most of them aren't bad. They're just sellouts, ladder climbers. What they don't know is that ladder that goes into the clouds, that cloud isn't water vapor, it's nerve gas. They think they're climbing up to the magic, castle with the gold, and they're not. They're climbing up a globalist ladder into a very bad place. See, I don't want to go up that ladder. I want to get out of this system. I want to change things. And I know history. I know I can do it with your help. I know you have power. And if you knew what I knew, I mean, if you knew I'm not just making all this up, if you'd go research what I'm saying, and a lot of you have done that, you'd understand, of course he's not selling out. He knows history. I mean, if these globalists weren't absolutely pure evil, I probably would have compromised in more ways just to get into the power structure with the old thing of work from within. Something this bad, you cannot compromise with it. I'm trying to explain this to people. There's no pragmatic way out of this, okay? You've got to have a clean break with these people and really get what's happening, and all of us just have to start saying no in different ways, and you can see us turning the momentum. That's why the system's accelerating the takeover right now. I know we got loaded phones. Mike Adams is coming in about 15 minutes. We'll go to Brian and Zachary and Brendan and Tim and everybody when we come back. So I'm going to break. It's too late to go to calls right now. It's just that caller asked those questions, and then I'm thinking, well, you know, what kind of questions should I ask Savage? Because, see, it wasn't even in my mind that, oh, I'm going to do a softball interview. I never even thought like that. I'm like a hunting dog. I'm on my trail, and that's what I'm doing. I was thinking, how do I, you know, get Michael Savage to come on regularly to talk about things that he thinks are important, because it will add a richness to the broadcast and bring in Michael Savage listeners, and then my listeners will go over to Michael Savage. And then we will change Michael Savage, I believe, in the long run. But reality will change people. But that's not even the overall goal. The overall goal is to talk about issues and get his perspective about how China has become our owner by the globalist traders manipulating us into that position. See, I'm worried about the big threat on the planet. I'm not worried about, you know, showing someone up because I'm the big man. All right, into hour number 3. Mike Adams will be arriving in the next 10, 15 minutes. Key breaking news with him. Got a whole list of it here. Here's some of the news we've got. Pastor plans toy gun buyback program. See, the idea is guns themselves are bad, instead of guns being something to protect you from a rattlesnake, something to go hunting to get you food, something, you know, it's dangerous, but kids got to learn things are dangerous. The problem is you got people that never been around gun culture now getting guns, and, you know, their 4-year-old picks it up and shoots themselves. Just amazing. But see, it's the idea of, oh, it's of the Lord to turn your gun in. It's of the Lord to roll over to evil. Totally unbiblical. The Pharisees were planning to set Christ up, and he wasn't ready to be killed yet. So he turned the other cheek to make the guy look like a fool. See, everything in there is about the particular story and time. It's like a handbook on how to behave, and it's all varied. But I guess the average dumbbell out there doesn't know how to understand the Bible, which saddens me. That's why they want you dumbed down. Let's talk to Brian in Mass. Gold in the economy is what you called in about. Welcome.
Hey, Alex, I just wanted to touch upon your last comments. I agree, though. You're with Michael Savage. He's a good guy overall. Compared to all the rest of the radios, he's no Mark Levin. He's no Sean Hannity. I think he's a good guy. So I wouldn't doubt that you have to go Ann Coulter on him or anything like that.
Now, that's somebody I'd like to get on, is Ann Coulter. Bad-mouthing libertarians, saying the Japanese ought to be thankful for Fukushima. I mean, you know, again, she just says outlandish stuff to get attention. It's one thing if you say outlandish stuff that's real to get attention to the problem. I'm all for publicity if it's real. Life is sensational. But my issue with Ann Coulter is, since you bring her up, is that she's just always saying really stupid stuff. Go ahead.
No, I mean, when you interviewed back in 2002, I mean, you tried to be nice to her, but I mean, she said she didn't care about the Second Amendment. She had no interest towards actual civil liberties. The only thing she said she was concerned with was the war on quote unquote terrorism.
No, it's a fake lawyer response. And that shows the hysteria they had when they staged 9/11. Was that I don't care about the Second Amendment anything. I'll do anything. Yeah, I'd forgotten she said that. Get rid of everything to fight the terrorists that the government publicly runs, which is admitted, but I'm not supposed to talk about it like it's rude if I bring that up. The stupid Al-Qaeda is being used to take our liberties. We're the target, not Al-Qaeda.
That's right. And when you said, well, what about George Bush? After the Second Amendment, she said that's not a concern to me. Nothing's a concern. Nothing's a concern. The only thing that you have to be worried about.
No. These pundits that the establishment pushes are good at just putting out arguments, and people think they put out dumb arguments because they're talking to a dumbed down population. That's the chicken and the egg deal. the dumbing the argument down is what dumbs you down. It's not that they dumb it down because you're dumb. They dumb it down to make you dumb, and now they have made us dumb. But we can reverse that. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. That's what I actually...
And by the way, she sounds like a genius compared to an MSNBC person. You know, because there's stuff like Ann Coulter and clowns like her. They're not even on the radar screen, man. I mean, the stuff on MSNBC and CNN, now that is dangerous. I mean, that is just... I turn it on and I'm like, am I actually seeing this crap? Where they sit there and there's no world government, there's no drones, there's no corruption. Alex Jones is bad. They said burn it down. He's helping Dorner. He loves Dorner. I mean, it is just a pack of lying, knuckle-dragging enemies.
Oh, yeah, and you're a racist, you know, either way, right?
Yeah, it's like, hey, I don't want socialism. Racist, right? I mean, it's like, what does it even mean?
What is it? Yeah, that's they do a thing that's called a good distraction.
It's all about. It's like a squid shooting ink at you. Exactly. In fact, that's the new liberal defense thing: is a pair of scissors against a gun, or to crap on yourself. Did you see that last week? Where they said if you're being raped, vomit or urinate on people. Like liberals are now like squid. They're going to projectile crap on us. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're here live. Back Sundays 4 to 6 with a Sunday live transmission. And every weeknight, 7 o'clock Central, InfoWarsNews.com, PrisonPlanet.tv, the nightly news. The people like Immortal Technique in studio for an hour and 20 minutes last Friday. A lot of big breaking news coming up this week. Thank you for joining us. I will get to more of your calls from Tim and Zachary and everybody else that's holding. Mike Adams is here in studio with us, The Health Ranger, naturalnews.com. And Friday, are you still set to guest host for me? I actually plan on being here. It's just I've got so much to get done. I have to actually take off to get stuff done, just like I know you have to. Hey, you brought a Barrett 50 cal mag in here.
Well, yeah, I figure, you know, there's all this talk about reducing the size, the capacity of magazines, and so... if it comes down to a 10-round limit, these are the 10 rounds that I want. Barrett 50 cal.
And it looks like you've got the actual Army version there. You got the tan one?
This is from the M107A1 Flat Dark Earth 29-inch barrel magazine. This is the new improved magazine over the 82 model.
Yeah, because you can actually see the numbers there.
Yeah. So go Barrett. I tell you.
I'm all about going Barrett.
Yeah, even 7 rounds in here would still be effective, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
What? I don't have a rifle. I just have a magazine. What are you talking about?
No, yeah, it's awesome. It's addicting shooting them. You don't want to go back to anything else.
It's a masterful piece of machinery. It's a work of art. It's great stuff.
Hey, how obvious does it have to get with the 2 billion rounds of ammo, the veterans getting letters for gun confiscation, the official Justice Department recommending confiscating everything, the Army training to take on gun owners, and the main company with these mini helicopters that are hundreds of thousands of dollars a piece, that the first time they launched one in Houston, it crashed. It's just $400,000 though, $200,000 Homeland Security, $200,000 of our money. And the counties everywhere are buying them with grenade launchers, shotgun mounts, and they're just announcing war on us, and they'll just write more old ladies' tickets to do it. They're going completely nuts. I mean, and it's all happening.
Well, the thing that really gets under my skin, Alex, is that they sign up people to join the military and say, well, we're going to train you, you know, and part of the message is we're going to train you to be a killer, you know, we're going to train you to be aggressive, we're going to train you to be a tactically...
You must not hesitate or you will be dead, Marine.
But then they say, then they twist it, the catch-22, they twist it and say, oh, well, what we trained you to be, well, that's a mental illness. And so now we're going to send you home and say you're mentally ill because you were trained in the way...
And by the way, when we confirmed it, they're CPSing guys that have their legs and arms blown off, the wife's working. They go, and you're mentally ill too, never in the military. Right. We're taking your kids, your guns. They are abusing them. And the cover story is at the NFL and everywhere. We love the troops. We love the troops. That's the cover that they hate them and are going after them.
Mental illness is the new medical fascism in America. They can use mental illness to take away not only your gun rights, but also your First Amendment rights. What's to stop them from saying, if you're diagnosed as mentally ill, you can't have a website. You can't exercise your First Amendment or your Second Amendment. What's to say you don't even have a Fifth Amendment?
Well, you know about, in their new handbook, Well, that's like school nurses and teachers prescribing Prozac, Ritalin, all, you know, those are the old drugs, the new drugs as well, with never even a doctor's visit. I mean, it's enough if you went to the fake psychiatrist and they did a diagnosis. It's just totally fake. Remember when Prozac and now other families of drugs do free mail-outs of samples?
Oh, yeah.
It's a hallucinogen.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that really gets me is that veterans, when they do a couple of tours in war and they come home, they're wiser. They wise up to things. They get informed. They come home, they're smarter. They know a little bit more about globalism and why the wars are really being fought and what's going on. They learn about the VA, how the VA hospitals just abuse or are negligent.
Well, no, but that's because the veterans are seen as evil demons that are dangerous.
Well, right.
The government hates the vets.
Absolutely. And then, of course, but the government says, oh, we all have to stand up and salute and play the Star-Spangled Banner. Let's honor the vets. That's their public thing. And I agree, let's honor the vets. But let's honor them after they come home. Let's honor them with VA.
But, Mike, don't you see, it's the cover. All the over-the-top troop this, troop that on every show, every company.
Yeah.
Even the companies themselves may actually be buying into it, but the push to do this is the weird cover where the troops are being told they're loved to get new people to join like it's the coolest thing in the world. And then while they're actually abusing them, it doesn't fit with the script. So even though vets are having their kids taken, drugged, attacked, their guns taken, all this happening, it doesn't compute. It's a smokescreen.
No, they're being exploited. They're being used and then thrown out like an old doll or something. They're just being used and thrown away and then stripped of their rights. Now, the veterans are the people who should have the Second Amendment rights more than anybody in America.
Why are you an extremist? I mean, come on. Vets shouldn't be able to own guns, and the government loves us. I
think more vets need more of these right here, these 50 cal Barrett.
Well, I mean, here's the deal. They also sell an idea that no one can ever be killed, there can't ever be accidents, there can't ever be a problem. The truth is the world's a violent, crazy place, and anytime they say collectively a whole group's bad because statistically a few people might do something wrong, that is classical authoritarianism where somebody does something wrong in the town, so everybody has to go do forced labor.
Well, look, let me be clear. I'm with the vets 100%, and if it comes down to a shooting war in this country, which we hope never happens, we want to avoid that.
Yeah, the government wants it.
The government wants it, but can you imagine the gun-grabbing liberals versus the armed veterans? Who's going to win that fight? I'm with the vets, man.
Well, our problem is they're going to pull PSYOP. They're going to kill innocent people. They're going to attack large concentrations of children, and then have a computer morph of patriots saying, you know, Mike Adams or Alex Jones, kill the children. Yeah, and folks need to know that's not real. That'll never happen. You got to know the government's evil. They're far and run. Anything they put out's a lie. They're the enemy. None of it. It's pure BS. It's like Tokyo Rose saying that Japan had won the war even as atomic bombs were being detonated. Okay, it's pure bull.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if they've already digitized your face and your voice, and they've got it ready to go, like messages from Alex Jones that are completely fabricated.
Of course, no.
CG. You know, Hollywood graphics at your service right there. They can do
Look,
that.
we know they're the enemy. It's done. No matter what they do, it's pure bull, folks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well,
what do you think about the Dorner situation? I mean, they say burn that mother down, burn that effer down, burn down the house. Yeah. Okay, we're placing the burners. We have fire. It's burned down. Mission complete.
Well, we're doing a parody video on that with Billy Joel's song "We Didn't Start the Fire" being sung by the LAPD. It'll be out this week.
We didn't start the fire. Yep. It's been burning.
And it's also got Bill Clinton singing that over Waco. And it's got...
We didn't start the fire.
That's it.
It's been burning since the world was turning.
Yep. So we're doing a parody on that. Because, you know, the globalists hate to be made fun of. That's the
one thing, yeah. Like, we have drones, we have troops, we have black uniforms. Yeah, your black uniform doesn't scare me. It makes me want to stomp your butt.
Yeah, it's scary what they think they can get away with. I mean, you know, Ron Paul just talked about it yesterday about the armed raids of raw milk producers. You know, James Stewart's been a guest here on your show. That doesn't happen in China. That doesn't happen in North Korea. It doesn't happen in Cuba. They don't take guns to farmers and say, give us your raw milk or force them to pour it down the drain. Only in America is the government using these assault weapons, true full auto assault rifles, like the DHS has just bought 7,000 more, to go against food and nutrition.
And to act like it's all evil. It's all dress up. Well, right. It's all behaving as if we did a 1.5 year sting of the Amish who were publicly selling milk to their neighbors that begged, who were a fake family.
No, that milk...
They did that to act like it was something dirty for the moron jury.
Well, No, James Stewart was distributing raw milk mostly to mothers who couldn't breastfeed, and they were feeding the raw milk to their babies.
So evil.
When the feds came in and took that food and destroyed it, over $50,000.
So evil that
those babies went hungry that day.
Good. They need shots. Babies don't need food. They need mercury shots.
Apparently. And he's still facing sentencing, by the way, in L.A. County, I believe. You know, it's not over for James Stewart. I mean, that guy is the unsung hero of the food freedom movement, and no one will talk about his
I think his organs should be harvested.
Well, they practically tried to do that to him in L.A.
No, I mean, I say execute him and his entire. I mean, I think the government's God. I don't think you're a sick person.
That kind of approach may be coming soon from.
I love Stalin.
Yeah, well. Give him one of these, man.
Hey, have you heard the media? Hitler and Stalin and Mao didn't take any guns. Have you heard that? They're now saying we're liars, and Google has gamed the search results.
I am aware that there is an attempt at truly a hypnotic amnesia being cast like a spell on the people. And I'm not joking. This is not satire. There's hypnosis.
No. They're worried that we'll go, wait, they took the guns before and this happens?
Yeah.
And they're going, Alex, there's actually saying, Alex lied to you on Piers Morgan. Hitler, Stalin, and Mao did not take the guns.
Right. Well, there is no greater hypnotist in politics today than Obama. He's a hypnotic speaker, better than Clinton ever was. And Clinton was a brilliant...
How dare you?
But Obama's even better, a better master of neuro-linguistic programming and hypnotic language.
Is that why I love him?
It must be. It must be.
I love Obama. Why are you hurting him? You know, when I've taken the Obama callers, sometimes they call in desperate going, you're a horrible liar. Why are you doing this? Don't you talk about him? And they're real people. We've put them on hold and says, is this a joke? And they're like, no, you devil. No, you devil. Wow. They actually believe it. He's like raping the poor, just annihilating them.
When is the apology coming to you? Because you warned about the drones, and they called you a kook for saying there are going to be drones in the sky. Now it's
now they're like death panels are good.
Right. What about the NDAA? You warned about the NDAA.
That wasn't hard.
Obama played possum. He signed it on, what, New Year's Eve, right? When no one was...
Maybe he didn't sign it. Let's just say he didn't.
Well, he robo-signed it.
Government loves me. Did you hear about how Gibbs came out and said we were told to just say drones don't exist?
Yeah, right.
Drones don't exist.
Right. Well, that's a vindication of everything you've talked about right here at InfoWars.
But it shows how it's meant to be over the top where you're just standing there.
Things are so insane today in terms of reality manipulation. I think, you know, I like the fact that you've talked to David Icke recently, because David talks about the reality shaping and, you know, multi-dimensional, you know, people moving in and out of realities. I don't know if that's literal or metaphorical, but reality is being twisted by people like Gibbs, people like Obama, people like Clinton.
Well, that's what Karl Rove said. He said, we control reality, and we'll change it tomorrow, and you will dutifully do as we're told. And the media said, yes, sir. We'll be right back with Mike Adams. Well, I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we got Mike Adams here with us. Your calls are coming up. All right, Mike, you came in here to get into some really big breaking health news that is so important. But first off, tell the TV viewers, but describe it for radio listeners, about Obama Bites made in China. What is this? And go over the ingredients. Did you come up with this?
Yeah, you know, I always like to bring a little bit of satire with me in the studio. But so we have a new nutritional product formulated by Obama called Obama Bites Daily Chewable Multivitamin. And it's got all sorts of trace minerals in it that you can see here, including obamnesium. You know, a lot of supplements have magnesium and, you know, zinc, but this has obamnesium, which causes you to forget history all the way back to 1776. So you forget American history. This mineral is really powerful. Squeezium, that helps the TSA do its job better. Squeezium. That's a nice trace mineral there. We've got hypnolium, dystopium, and even fukushimium for extra energy for your cells.
And Coulter agrees with that.
Yeah, she does. No, she should take this. This takes some Obama.
She said the Japanese should be thankful for their children dying of radiation.
Yes. We've got radon in here. That's useful for raw milk because the government conducts a raid on raw milk.
Well, plus they mine the stuff for the fluoride out of the uranium mine, so it actually has radon and stuff in it.
Yes, it does. Yes, and this is, of course, made in China, and it's probably all GMO, but it's not listed on the label.
Well, all I care about is that it not be organic. Obviously, GMO is what you need.
Apparently. But anyway, I'll leave that here for the studio in case you guys want to have fun.
And you know, the great part about it is there's too many people, so it'll what, reduces your life, you were saying, like by at least 30, 40 years?
Oh, yeah. And plus, we've got the Feinsteinium mineral in here so that you live under tyranny. Actually, that was a government experimental mineral that was used to see if they could turn a female gargoyle into a U.S. senator. And they were successful.
Man, that stuff's incredible.
Am I going overboard here?
No, I think this is awesome. I mean, I'm realizing, can you have like Obama Bites Plus later that has like Stalinism?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Sure, we can have version 2, version 3, you name it. It will probably be USDA approved for the school lunch program.
Well, radiating it and spraying live viruses on it is, and of course, you know, a lot of soft drinks have fire retardant in it that causes liver cancer.
But you can't use the word retardant. That's not politically correct.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it has to be fire impaired, I think, is the...
Or fire resistant.
Fire resistant. There we go. We got to watch our language here on your show.
I'm sorry. I didn't know I was a racist. See, I just showed that it's there.
Well, apparently you are lacking hypnolium, which is in this formula. You need more hypnolium. That helps you watch CNN and believe it.
Instead of it being a really scary comedy.
A green screen.
Horror comedy.
Special.
CNN actually is like horror comedy. Oh, Zero Dark 30 didn't win an Academy Award. It should have for Best Fiction. Best Fiction Screenplay.
Of course. But anyway, speaking of fiction, we have the actual real news that I came here to break with you today.
Yeah. We're going to break in 3 minutes, so give us a preview of what's coming up.
Well, so we've uncovered a couple of big things happening. Number one, there's 2 stories I'm bringing here today. Number one is the FDA is being petitioned by the dairy industry to be able to change the definition of milk to include aspartame that's not listed on the label. Now,
that's almost as good as turning a gargoyle into a female senator.
Now, this story...
You know, we were talking to the break. We are starting to go crazy. Stuff's getting so weird.
Well, what can you do? You got to laugh at it. You got to make fun of it.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This story was...
All the Dead Kids isn't funny, though. I forgot.
This was written up. I think Activist Post first found this. We wrote it and just published it a couple hours ago also, giving them credit. But the petition is real. The dairy industry wants to put aspartame in eggnog, yogurt, milk, cream, half and half, all of that, without listing it on the label. Hidden. It's called an additive to change the identity of milk.
I think that's a great idea because I don't want to eat it and die of brain cancer. And all these big studies are coming out. CBS News had to admit last week that it is killing people, giving them type 2 diabetes. That's reasonable. Just like California supposedly voted down not knowing if something's GMO. I think that's reasonable. Well, I don't want to know if something
unreasonable about it.
I mean, I get a violent headache and then a migraine if I eat MSG, and they're able to hide that name. I think that's reasonable. Well, of course, you know, I'm violently allergic to it, and I shouldn't be able to know.
And they argue that this is for the children.
Of course it is.
For the children. So so they want the aspartame.
Well, you saw Michelle Obama on the Academy Awards. Yeah, I mean, she cares about the kids.
I didn't watch that, but I heard.
It's all about the calories, not about what you're eating. So I guess if, like, cyanide, say, had it's low calorie.
Well, mercury is low calorie.
You never eat again. You die. I mean,
you have, like, mercury in the milk. Like metal milk. Liquid metal.
Long as it's low calorie.
There's hardly any calories in mercury. We should add it to Obama Bites, man.
Well, no, the Journal of Pediatrics actually says
mercury's good for you.
Have you heard they want to put kids on serotonin reuptake inhibitors ahead of the vaccine? They say it makes the vaccine better.
More effective, yeah. Doubles the potency.
By the way, we're not joking. We've now reached total cuckoo land.
We're on the march.
Stay there. All right, I promise. I know you're holding. Have your questions ready, and we'll get to you. For everybody holding, I'm your host, Alex Jones. Mike Adams is here. Mike, we always have fun behind the scenes, and people are seeing that here. But some of what we're saying was joking. We weren't joking about last week. They were saying we want kids to take psychotropics because they help the vaccine work better. Doesn't matter. That doesn't make sense. Or the Journal of Pediatrics says mercury is actually good for your child's brain. And I can play that news clip. Again, there's several psychological tactics here, but on record, they do it to just totally freak people out where the normalcy bias is so wild, the government could be barbecuing children in front of you and it would be normal. That's what the military drills are about. They admit is to acclimate us because this system is run by scientific psychiatrists. And the truth is, though, they're a bunch of crazy people. And they came from domesticated megacities, most of them. That's their blind spot, is that most of these technocrats themselves are completely insane and can hardly wipe their own noses.
They are insane. If you took a classically trained doctor from just one generation ago, let's say somebody who went through med school in the 1970s or even the 1960s, if they could fast forward to today and look at this, they would think society is insane. They know you don't give vaccines to pregnant women. They know you don't dose up infants on psychiatric drugs. They know that infants shouldn't drink fluorosilicic acid, fluoride. So even the medical truth, the conventional scientific truth of medicine has been so contorted into an agenda of mass poisoning.
The insane now call us insane.
Absolutely, yeah. And the thing is, insane people always eventually self-destruct. So this insane system of medicine, the insane system of politics, the insane system of tyranny, of malnutrition, all of these things are going to implode.
We've just got to survive it.
That's exactly it. And economics and finance, of course, another insane system, derivatives. So the name of the game here for us and all of our listeners out there is to survive it, to simply, survival is victory. For the next 50 years, survival is victory. If you live through it, then you're...
That's what I've always said. People think if your kids grow up and have kids, you had victory. Survival is victory.
That's exactly
Resistance is victory.
Yeah, right.
Simply just being there.
And this is why it's so crucial for people to get out of the cities, but then to get into nutrition and grow as much of their own food as they can, supplement what they can't grow. Because, nutrition for patriots is a very powerful and very important concept. It is patriots who need to survive, who need to have the physical stamina, who need to have the sensitivity of vision at night.
We will inherit the earth.
Because we're the ones who are healthy and sane. That's it. The insane people in Washington, who by the way have never plowed a field, never milked a cow, nothing. They think they know what the real world is when they live in their palaces that are complete artificial.
And by the way, you're running news companies, health companies, all of this while milking goats and cows and chickens and getting to be an expert shot at 1,000 yards with a Barrett.
Well, the milking season for my goats is over right now, so I'm not milking the goats anymore. But I did milk the goats for many, many months and drank raw goat's milk. And for some reason, the government didn't come raid me.
That is so extreme. Whoa.
Yeah.
Guys, did you hit the delay just now? That profanity? Okay, you got it? Okay.
But, yeah, my most expensive vehicle is a John Deere tractor, for real. It really is.
You've got a tractor? That's a terrorist right there.
Yeah, when you hook up a big 15-foot shredder to the back of it, it is kind of a terror weapon. It can really knock some things around. But, yeah, when I'm not working, when I'm not writing content, I'm on my farm. That's what I do. That's what I would rather do, frankly.
That's another point. We could make our own armored vehicles pretty quick.
Actually, we could. What I like to do is I like to go buy the 1970 models, 70 through 79 John Deere tractors. Many of them were actually made just solid iron, well, not solid, but a lot of steel and iron in them, very little plastic and no circuits. So when you have an EMP attack from, let's say, North Korea, that's in the news right now, when all the electronics are...
It'll be the globalists that do it, and blame them.
Still use your tractor. And if you store some fuel and you have a 1975 John Deere, you can still farm.
And then if things get bad, you just weld a steel cage around it, and you're ready for road warrior.
You are. Yeah, or you just park that sucker, out your driveway as a barrier, or weld apparatus onto it, put yourself a gun port on that sucker, you have a John Deere 50 cal.
Well, here's the deal. The globalists are arming against us. They're acting like we don't know. And the public's just running around grabbing weapons saying we know they're evil. I mean, do they have any idea what they've done, these dumb little commies?
No. And also, I think liberals and gun grabbers, they think that someone can just pick up a firearm and immediately know how to use it. They think they'll be able to do it.
Oh, I've seen them on the White House petition dreaming about their new federal militia and how they're going to hunt us down.
Right. So funny. Really funny. The first time they get a jam, the war's over. Because the veterans and the patriots know how to, tap and rack, reload, clear a jam, do all this kind of stuff. And they also know how to shoot at long range. I mean... a typical 50 cal Barrett.
Well, no, they plan to sit in command centers and have drones go out and get us. But sorry, they don't have their robot army ready yet.
No. So they're not going to be nearly as effective as they think they are. They also think that a 9mm handgun will blow you physically across the room and out the window because that's what they see in their movies. They don't realize that's a very weak round.
Well, they do that to scare people from getting into guns.
Well, exactly. So, you know, veterans and patriots with rifles, they are the backbone of America. And I know maybe didn't mean for us to slip back into this topic, but that is the backbone of America, and that's what's going to restore.
Absolutely. Hit the health news. Hit the health news.
All right. So here we go. Some big breaking news on organics out of China. Now, organic is still the best thing going. You want organic over conventional food for sure. But here's a big aha that most people don't realize. USDA organic standards do not limit the amount of contamination of organic foods. Organic can have, depending on where it's grown, it can have high levels of mercury, cadmium, arsenic, lead, even aluminum, pesticides, and so on. Organic does not test for contamination levels. Organic is a certification of how something is grown, not the result that comes out of the farm. So when you have China growing foods now being certified organic and imported into the U.S. and sold in the USA, you got to start thinking about how clean is that food really, even though it's organic. China, 90% of the water supply serving the cities is severely contaminated. I
have an article now about cancer villages.
Cancer villages. Now admitted by the Chinese government because it's so toxic to live there.
That sounds liberal. 40%
of the rivers are severely contaminated. Some of the rivers you can light on fire. They've got so much petrol.
And the river flows by the Al Gore-controlled factories with the suicide nets.
Probably.
But that's liberal.
Well, of course. I'm sure those factories discharge toxic waste directly into the rivers.
But that's liberal.
Well, right.
I mean, Obama's got a peace prize.
But what's happening, Alex, is that organic farmers in the U.S. are being put out of business. Agricultural jobs are shifting to China because China does not enforce any environmental regulations. So
no, that's the plan. You put rules here where we can't operate, then shift there, and then label toxic waste organic.
Yes.
And then if you don't like toxic waste, you're racist.
So the key to people is check the country of origin. Organic grown in the USA is clean. Organic grown in Canada is clean.
That's racist. I'm serious. Go ahead.
Here, have some Obama bites. Organic grown in Europe is clean. Organic grown in China is questionable. And we did some lab tests, and we found that the levels of certain metals of so-called organic superfoods coming out of China was 10 times higher than the levels of the same superfood grown in Taiwan. And you don't normally think of Taiwan as a super pristine place, but compared to China, it's a lot cleaner. So you've got to start asking yourself, where does your organic food come from? And if you want to support America and you want to support American farmers, it's important to start buying organic food that's made.
And by the way, you're just amazing, Mike. I've got to say it. With all the stuff you're doing, you have articles at naturalnews.com. You're not just saying this, where you have the labs and the test and what you did. I mean, you're doing this kind of stuff every day.
I'm just trying to keep up with InfoWars, frankly. You guys are really
no.
Heading this.
You know, it makes me feel good to know there's people like you out there, buddy. Well, I tell you, the more the merrier. It's very exciting.
Look, my thing is, I'm a whistleblower, okay? I'm an investigative journalist whistleblower. I like to have a little fun with, Obama Bites multivitamins.
Don't give them ideas. They'll put out cyanide pills and say the children have now flown to their Lord. But Obama is Christ. Take the cyanide, children.
As you know, we set up our store several months ago, and we started sourcing ingredients. I was shocked to find what was in this stuff. For example, fruit powders coming from China that are conventionally grown. Did you know that nearly all of them are contaminated with genetically modified corn maltodextrin, and it's not listed on the label, and it doesn't have to be listed. So you're buying, let's say, a pomegranate powder that's imported from China. It looks really cheap on Amazon.com or eBay. That might be up to 30% GMO maltodextrin that's not even
listed. So the big news is don't eat food from China.
Well,
it's a no-brainer.
I think there are probably exceptions. Goji berries from China are pretty clean. There are probably other exceptions, but we need to question organics from China and regular food.
Well, look, the globalists have totally destroyed the poor Chinese people. They have set up their global factory to leverage everybody else out while setting regulations to make everything go there where they own. It's a consolidation operation.
Well, yeah. I mean, and also people think about buying food from China. They don't think about, wow, that's a communist regime that militarily.
Well, you saw the articles where they have secret greenhouses for the elite.
Right.
Because things are so toxic, they grow the food taxpayer paid for themselves. Guys, type in Chinese elite, eat different food in public.
That's the solution long term. Even for us here in the U.S., is to grow in greenhouses. You're not getting the fallout from chemtrails. You're not getting the fallout from the China pollution that is exported out of China, through the trade winds and actually dumps on the Midwest. So today, if you're growing food outdoors, you are getting some level of contamination that you can avoid.
But you've seen, like in Oklahoma and places, they're saying, we don't want you to have a garden in your backyard. You might grow marijuana. No. I mean, what a free country.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, prisoner, you don't grow a garden, scum. So I think it's bad to have it in the greenhouse. It could be illegal.
Well, and especially
thank God the drones
grow lights or grow pumps, circulating water. That's going to show up on your smart meter electric bill. The smart meter knows you're using grow lights, and they're going to say that might be marijuana.
Well, they admit that.
Yeah, no, that's admitted.
No, I know people in Austin. In fact, one group was going to, this is a long time ago, going to UT to get her botany degree. That's my buddy's girlfriend. They didn't even smoke pot, like sports addict folks. And they SWAT teamed them and broke all their stuff and got in their face and handcuffed them on the ground.
Wow.
Because they had I can't remember, it was like a plumber or something, and they saw grow lights back there and orchids. like oh my gosh, that plant looks like marijuana. So you get a SWAT team, and all she's trying to do is grow the orchid. Well, I mean, because you don't have plants growing at your house in America.
No, apparently it's.
I mean, now even a Buckeye sticker, you're going to get pulled over.
But growing your own food is an act of resistance. Organic farming, local farming is an act of resistance against the system. And Alex, an exciting technology to check out, and we're going to be researching this. We're actually going to set this up. It's called aquaculture. You produce vegetables and fish at the same time, and they share the same water.
Self-contained.
The fish emulsion grows the plants, the plant byproducts feed the fish. And it's all done indoors. You get high-quality, super clean protein and vegetables.
Sounds terrorist.
At the same time.
Sounds terrorist.
Well, but I think growth, greenhouses that grow this could be key to resisting the death agenda that's out there right now. And what they want to secretly put in the milk and secretly put into the cows and the cow feed. Yeah, because you covered that earlier. I saw that in the news. They're moving now to put aspartame in the milk and not tell you. Right. They want you to drink. They want to change the definition of milk to say milk can now include. Well, they're putting aspartame in everything, and they know it kills the pancreas, cancer, and it's now admitted. And they're killing us, but they're good people. Well, it's like Melissa Melton did a piece on aspartame in chewing gum. But at least in chewing gum, it's listed on the label. But this petition, if the FDA approves this, aspartame would be in milk that you don't even know is in there. Your only choice to avoid aspartame would be to stop buying all milk and yogurt and cream products. That's your only option. And see, the reason they want it is it's addicting. It's an excitotoxin. It's a neurotoxin. Exactly. It's an excito-neurotoxin. And we have Dr. Blaylock on that's poisonous. That's in the medical literature. Yeah. So it's an addictive speed. And they're killing us. And then everyone's going to go, well, we got diabetes, well, we got breast cancer, and then go to the very medical system that's killing you. But it also potentiates the toxicity of vaccines. So if you look at the mercury, the aluminum, the MSG, and the formaldehyde that is admittedly in vaccines, CDC admits that. We documented it at National News. If you combine that then with aspartame and excitotoxins that are secretly put into milk, you have a multiplication effect of basically a lobotomy, which is what the system wants. They want you to be so lobotomized. No, that's why a lot of the public can't talk hardly. I know. They can just go Cowboys. And they can't think. They can't. 49ers. They can't watch. Obama cut my taxes. Obama give me phone. And it's like, what? Government good. Government, love government. Oh, that was a good zombie piece. I think John Baum gets the Oscar award for the best. Maybe Dan Badandi, yeah. On that piece. But yeah, they want people to be able to look at their paycheck and have the deduction for Obamacare and think, oh, that's not a deduction. That's a bonus. That's the way they want people so twisted. That's a bonus. And then they take money, though, out of your check on top of it. Well, yeah, but you're not supposed to be able to do math. This is a thing. Like getting back to sniper rifles. Being a good sniper requires you to do a lot of math. You got to calculate a lot of things. The wind, the Coriolis. Spin drift, the ballistics, the dope chart of that specific cartridge, everything. If you can't do math, you can't be a good sniper, period. Well, it won't matter soon. It's all going to be robots. Well, But my point is, this is why.
And by the way, a robot doesn't look like what you think it is. It's a Humvee that drives up with a 50 mounted that's where the robot is just a computer in there running the whole thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Right. No, it can have any physical appearance whatsoever.
Go ahead.
You know? Well, my point is that if we, the people who believe in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, if we take care of our health, and Ben Fuchs is a great guest that you have on who agrees with all this, if we take care of our health, we're going to have the clarity of mind to achieve victory no matter what comes our way. So that's the optimistic look at all this.
Well, victory is what you said, and the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. It starts with really realizing this is a scientific takeover using our energy to build a self-replicating robotic technocracy to make humans obsolete. And they're selling us on us being obsolete and that we're scum right now, and a self-fulfilling prophecy, so we stand down and invert our life force system, invert our survival instinct into a destructive instinct. We have to just simply flip it back the direction it's supposed to go. We're designed to do that and pull out at every level with hatred. And I say that with love for our families. It's more than hatred. Directed, total commitment against the enemy. And folks are saying, well, how do I do that? Realize they're attacking you. I mean, you know, this is serious business, folks. They're killing kids everywhere. I mean, you go to the cemetery now every weekend, they're burying little kids down the street from here. I mean, they're murdering little children, begging for mommy at age 3 as they die of cancer.
And look at
they're murdering us, murdering filth.
The cancer industry gives you poison and calls it a treatment for cancer. And the #1 side effect of chemotherapy is cancer. I mean, it's insane. It's as insane as treating sickness with mercury that they did 100 years ago.
Well, the point is, and the average doctor's compartmentalized, they are attacking us on every level.
Every level, biochemical.
Well, humans have always been predators, so we've set up a system where it's a predatory system on humans. By the way, Mike Adams was late getting here today because they shut down some of the highways. The wind was so high. And I noticed that driving into work this morning, my truck was blowing all over the highway, and I guess it got a lot faster.
Yeah, the wind gusts were quite severe, and the cops are real busy right now all around Austin. There's a lot going on out there.
I guess the highways got shut down from wrecks.
Well, yeah, right. Or signs or power lines getting blown onto the highway or something. I don't know what it was. But yeah, I barely made it here today, which I'm usually 30 minutes early.
Oh, we're not bringing up the fact that you're late, brother. It's nothing. Let's jam in a few calls. You got to most of it. You're going to be in here Friday on the broadcast. I'll be working as well, but not on air. Probably be jumping in here, interrupting.
Probably just jump on in, man.
Only show that can interrupt myself.
It's fun to have a dialogue with you, actually.
Hey, let's talk to, that's what happens when we hang out. Let's talk to Tim in Arizona. Let's talk about the Fed. Go ahead, extremist.
Hi, Alex. Hi, Mike.
Hey.
It's an honor talking with both you guys. I'm a little bit nervous, first-time caller, and also first-time evil gun owner.
Well, you need Obama bites. Feinsteinium would help you be able to lie to people better, and be cold-blooded reptile. Sorry.
Yep, I'm also a prison plan member, and I've been taking the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, and actually used it for my first full Ironman triathlon
awesome.
in November, and did the full thing without having to walk, and I think those vitamins were just great. And also last month I had to interact with a guy who had the flu, and I knew that if I took enough of those vitamins that I would be okay. And actually,
well, InfoWarsHealth.com and buying them there also supports us, so thank you, brother. What's your point on the Fed?
Okay, I took a class when I was in college on the Federal Reserve, and I was one of 3 people in the class who was not on this Federal Reserve Challenge team. We ended up winning the national competition against all the Harvards, Yales, MITs, etc. And the motto of our class actually was, "In Fed we trust," as disgusting as that sounds. But never once in that class did they mention that the Federal Reserve gets a 6% dividend. And so I'm thinking, if I took an entire class on the Federal Reserve in college, was a finance major, have all my stockbroker's licenses, how did I not even know that? And because I had a guy tell me it was private, I thought he was full of crap. I set out to prove him wrong.
Well, I mean, technically it's a quasi-governmental power because it has government power, but it's private shareholders of private banks that form a holding company. So behind it is private groups, and it is technically private, yes.
Yeah, but my question is, I know that you had a long time ago you had Walter Burien on to talk about the comprehensive annual financial reports, and I was wondering just how what that would look like if you were ever to have him on again.
I need to do that. About 80%, they've been doing this since the 50s, about 80% of government taxes, county, city, doesn't matter, are put in offshore slush funds. So when you hear about budgets, it's around 20% now. All the money they're spending, oh, we're over budget, need to raise taxes again. It's a total scam. And the gas taxes, that goes offshore, most of it. They're talking about shutting all the parks down in Texas, the state parks. And it turns out the entire $150+ million takes about $45 million to run it. The $150 million that they get from sporting goods sales, it's all just taken and given away to offshore banks. Go ahead, Mike.
California is probably the worst example of this. There's so many slush funds there. We investigated it and did a story on that as well. But it's true that people in positions of government, whether it's state or federal, they see their hand is in the cookie jar. They have an opportunity.
Oh, no, they invest the government money in companies their wife works at.
There we go.
And you never see
Feinsteinium.
Feinsteinium, you know.
Example right there. Insider trading is routine.
Everywhere. And they know we're waking up, so they're creating huge brigades of police with automatic weapons and drones, training with targets of our families to kill us.
7,000 rifles. DHS just bought them. Assault rifles, full auto, and they call them personal defense weapons.
Criminal government, the mafia government that has stolen everything and now wants you dead. They've stolen the whole planet. Now they say it's their planet, they're going to kill us, here comes the drones.
Have some aspartame milk for breakfast and some aspartame yogurt. You won't even know it's in there. How could it hurt you?
You don't even know who you are by the time they're done with it. You won't worry about aspartame anymore when you're 6 feet under. More calls coming up. Eat your aspartame. You know why I like to read the comments at Infowars.com? He was saying, Alex, why aren't you covering the fact that a federal court says concealed gun permits not protected by the Second Amendment? Will you guys punch this up for me? Thanks. Al Weldon, go ahead and bring that on in here real quick. We're going to do a little bit more overdrive. Can you go to 20 after an overdrive?
Yeah, you bet.
Because I want to be able to take these calls. Come on in here, Weldon. Thank you, brother. Oh, look. Yeah. Look, your gun happened to be here. Bring it on in here.
There it is.
Mike, thanks for bringing it by. Oh, here we go. Here, go ahead and pull that down for me, Weldon. Thanks. It's like having babies. There was a black one in here now. Now there's a tan one. Put it on up here. Yep.
All right.
What on earth is going on here?
Yeah. Whose is this, by the way?
I don't know. Easter Bunny must have dropped it out of the sky, huh?
And look, it's a perfect fit.
Look at this. What's going on here? I don't know. This is Dianne Feinstein actually likes this. She just doesn't want you to have one.
Hey, don't forget to put that pin right here. Right there.
Oh yeah, we got it back there.
Yeah, okay, you don't want to fire without that pin.
No, don't worry. We're not firing it in the office. Oh, I hear you.
Halfway across Austin.
Absolutely. Raw. Look at that.
Oh, yeah, that's a heavy beast right there.
Hitting the lights back there. Sorry.
Barely fits in the studio, man.
Yeah.
You need a tripod for that.
You got to love the Second Amendment, huh?
Tripod with wheels, so you can wheel that sucker around the office.
What do you think the Obama Bites thinks? Obama Bites is going to fire the gun. Here, back it up. Obama Bite.
Looks like you put some rounds through that one, or somebody has. It's got a little.
It's still got cosmoline on it.
Oh, yeah. All right.
This sucker's right out of the box, man. First time it's ever been put together.
Very nice.
Very nice.
The sound of freedom.
Absolutely. All right, we have our special guest in studio, the Barrett 50 cal. Mike, this is your Barrett. Don't lie about it.
Oh, yeah. You think I would bring my Barrett? No, wait, I don't even have a Barrett. What are you talking about?
Literally, it's like baby Barretts are popping up everywhere.
Well, Barrett's cranking them out, and I saw a news report that they're going to move out of Maryland if Maryland continues.
No, that's good. The gun manufacturers are saying, we're calling your bluff. We're not going to sell to government anymore if you pass laws.
Yep, I think that's great. And I saw Midway USA, which is a great online retailer. They have pledged not to sell to government entities that are trying to take away our Second Amendment rights. A bunch of others, Cheaper Than Dirt, a bunch of companies. Bravo Company USA has said they won't sell good rifles there from Bravo Company. So there's a lot of great examples of that. That's a reverse gun ban. It's the people banning guns in the hands of corrupt
But that's how gun owners have got to act. We use our clout and defeat the enemy. It's not enough to win a battle now. We have to win the war, hunt down the globalists politically, and remove them from the system.
Well, I think that's going to happen. I mean, I know short-term, dark times ahead, but long-term, I'm a huge...
Oh, no, see, they've got everybody with a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's the end of the world. And they say you're not a Christian if you don't cop out and say it's the end of the world. They said Hitler was the end of the world. Africans, the Christians being killed in Rwanda thought it was the end of the world and stood down. when the Muslims were killing them and stuff. I mean, it's a total cop-out. And folks, regardless, you've got to do the right thing or God isn't going to recognize you. And, I mean, where do you stand on all of that, this cop-out that it's got to be the end, tyranny's got to win, these men call in and go, how can we beat them? How can we beat them? These people don't have the moral authority. No, get in their face, stop being cowed.
This is a spiritual war, not just an info war, not just a physical war. At its height, it's a spiritual war.
And the devil goes around roaring, seeing who he can devour, who cowers. Yep. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And I think there are individuals involved in government right now who are literally possessed, literally demonically possessed.
Look at Dianne Feinstein. She is definitely a demon.
I'm telling you. I think this is real. And so I think this is a spiritual war. And self-defense is a divine right, Alex. It goes along with us having consciousness, us having free will. The Creator created this universe, which may or may not be a simulation in the eyes of the Creator. You know, you've covered that. Paul Watson's covered that. But in this existence, we must maintain the integrity of the divine, which is to help others, have compassion, but also to defend what is right, including through the use of force as a last resort.
Well, exactly. We're supposed to smash tyrants when they rise up.
Absolutely.
Who will protect the innocent? The Bible asks over and over again.
Well,
who will rise up and protect the widows and orphans?
Very few, but more and more. It's a small number, but it's growing.
And the enemy is totally afraid of us. Your call's coming up. All right, final segment here with Mike Adams in studio. They're now coming out with drones to hunt down gun owners. You can't make this up. And I saw a comment on Infowars.com, one of the stories, saying, why aren't you covering a federal court saying that you don't have a right to concealed carry, that's not a Second Amendment? I've always said that they took something that was not in the Constitution, Bill of Rights, because concealed weapons have always been seen as something a criminal does. You can have any weapon you want if it's being bore openly. They wanted to make them go into a secret spot so that, quote, the criminals would be scared and not know where they are. That's how they sold it to gun owners. But the truth is, under common law, which predates even the Constitution Bill of Rights that it's all based on, concealed weapons generally were illegal. So, see, because it is illegal, you can get a permit to do something that would be illegal. That's where they had that loophole to then authorize something, to create the idea that government has to authorize you to have a gun. So people can argue both ends of it, but now the federal court, 10th Circuit, has ruled that they can revoke it for any time they want and refuse anyone they want, even if you don't have a criminal record. A federal judge in 2011 tossed out Peterson's lawsuit filed against Denver and the state's Department of Public Safety. Peterson claims that being denied a concealed weapons permit because he was not a Colorado resident violated his Second Amendment rights to bear arms. But now the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals has issued this on Friday. I missed it, saying, no, we can take it for any reason we wish. So just shows how criminal the government's gotten.
Well, again, what part of keeping bear arms shall not be infringed do they not understand? It's very clear. You either have the right to bear them openly or to carry them concealed. One or the other has got to be protected under the Second Amendment. They can't.
Well, technically, the Second Amendment went even further, so you could argue concealed or not. It's just in the old days, it's like, hey, wear your sword, wear your weapons. You're planning something sneaky if they aren't out in the open.
Look, I would love to live in a community where
I think everybody should be armed and wear them.
I agree.
The criminals will be real scared.
I completely agree. In fact,
you're packing right now?
I am packing right now.
I'm packing right now?
I always carry a Glock when I'm here. Actually, I carry it everywhere. I carry it through the Austin airport. And it's legal. You know, it's legal. I'm licensed. It's legal. I don't break fire.
No. They love the illusion that all the guns are illegal. Because they base all the shows in New York or L.A. or Chicago. So, again, the cleaning person coming to clean your carpets thinks your gun case is illegal and runs out freaking out. These are mentally ill people.
No, and it's funny because I can be walking through the Austin airport looking at a TSA officer. Officer is not even the right word, a person wearing a costume. That person's unarmed while I've got 30 rounds on me and a loaded gun. And I'm a citizen who's going to stop a criminal act.
But they don't want the public knowing that.
No, they don't. That's why I think we should all, it should be legal to wear the guns.
Well, it is in almost every state by fraud, but they still act like it's horrible when you do it. And it's like, if I was a criminal about to kill everybody, it'd be hidden and you wouldn't know.
Right. Well, criminals, you know, this is why, by the way, TSA checkpoints may be targets of criminals or even false flag
It's a victim disarmament zone.
Because they know people aren't armed who are standing in that line. But you can be armed in the luggage area. You can be armed as long as you don't go through the TSA checkpoint here in Austin. So you can carry a loaded gun with a concealed carry permit all over that airport except in the security.
And then you can also unload it, check it, and ship it.
You can.
Yeah. Let's go to calls because I promised to. Let's talk to Adam in Vermont. Army Katrina illegal ops is what he wants to talk about. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, hey, Alex. Yeah, something I wanted to talk to you for a while, but I've always been hesitant to do it. But, yeah, I was in U.S. Army Psychological Operations, and one of our deployments I was involved in was going in support of Katrina at New Orleans. And I, you know, in the past I didn't think anything of it, but now I know, you know, UCMJ code, you cannot conduct PSYOP on U.S. citizens at all, completely illegal. And their way of getting around it, we were not called a PSYOP unit. They called us a public information element. And in order to, I guess, hide the possibility of the PSYOP, they even had us take our patches off, which was the U.S. Army Civil Affairs and PSYOP Command patch. And, yeah,
they had you put fake patches on, which is, again, another act of espionage. To go under something you're not is an international and national crime. Did you know that? But, again, see, the average person who's compartmentalized doesn't know you guys are under more PSYOPs than anybody else.
No, absolutely. You know, that's something I've actually been realizing myself recently, and I've told some friends of mine who are starting to get into this kind of thing. Yeah, the biggest mission, I think, of officers, especially in PSYOP or military intelligence or anything else, the biggest job of them is to try to make the under personnel, like myself at the time, not realize what the hell we were doing.
Exactly. They're practicing deception, but they're being deceived as well. You see, if they just gave into the truth, then they would be given real perception and discernment, but they don't have that. They think deception is giving them power, but that's not the truth.
Absolutely. So here's something else, too. Can you guess who our call makers were, the people who had the missions in plan for us? Can you guess who that was?
ATF or FBI?
FEMA.
Sure, but assigned under FEMA. I mean, I knew because in the news, wasn't it FBI under FEMA leading the psychological testing raids where they went and got the guns?
I don't know. I wasn't involved in that part. All I know is that the commands that were coming down, who were telling us what pamphlets and everything else they wanted to have us make, was FEMA. At least from my position, I didn't know anything about FBI.
Let me ask you this. Sure. Let me ask you this. Dealing with all this now, talking to your buddies that might still be in, or maybe you're still in, I mean, are people starting to wake up to the larger PSYOP?
Yeah, actually, I'm not in the Army anymore. The people that I used to work with, I'm not in contact too much, and I'm even hesitant to talk to them about it because they really are. I mean, they don't know what the hell's going on. But I do know a lot of other people who are waking up. I know people in National Guard. I know an officer actually here in Vermont who told me that they had a briefing recently asking the staff, how would you feel about getting a command to U.S. citizen? And that's no joke.
No. Listen, that's going on everywhere. That's going on everywhere.
Good basis. So, yeah, I know I've heard about the testing going on and everything else. But
what did he think of them asking them in the unit, you know, what do you think of shooting, you know, the American people?
Yeah, exactly. And, yeah, people are waking up. Yeah, absolutely. And I've never even come to him and said, you know, what do you think of Alex Jones and anything else like that. He came to me and told me that without even knowing that I'm into all of this.
Well, very interesting, Stir. Thank you for holding to tell us that. God bless. Mike, Adam, before we take a few more calls here, we look at this PSYOP, and it looks like it's going to fall flat on its face, except for one thing. As much as we wake people up now, what's it going to matter when they detonate a nuke and blame it on the Patriots, as all the West Point documents are now saying? They're going to put the script out, even though it doesn't make sense, that the Patriots are working with Al-Qaeda. Now, how do you head that off? Well, we work as hard as we can now to inoculate the public psychologically to the truth. Yep. We've got the trump card, the ace of spades, the truth. What else do we do? Because even though this doesn't make sense, it only makes sense with really bad false flags.
No, you are on top of the best strategy right now, which is to psychologically inoculate the population and also to encourage people to, if something big happens, immediately start filming, start recording, audio, video, start documenting it right there at that spot. And because you know how the mainstream media will get a hold of it and change the story, like they did with Dorner. This whole thing, like we didn't start the fire. Really? Do you think we're that?
And for a day they wouldn't discuss it, and then suddenly then they whitewashed. But people were taping live when it happened.
But keep this in mind: Christopher Dorner, one man with some training and weapons, one man was able to occupy about 5,000, roughly give or take, police officers and sheriff's deputies in California. One man. So think about the effectiveness of just 1,000 people who are committed to freedom. And I'm not trying to say that Dorner was committed to freedom. He's totally different.
Sure.
Case.
Plus, I looked at his strategy. I didn't think his strategy was very good.
It wasn't very good. But imagine the effectiveness of even a small number of people who are committed to protecting law, which is the Constitution, which is the Bill of Rights.
And by the way, I mean, patriots, if they ever have to defend themselves, it'll make Dorner look like an absolute wimp.
There was that the Red Dawn movie that recently came out, which is kind of a ridiculous movie, but you know, it showed teenagers with rocket launchers and everything. But the quote from one of the actors in that movie was, you know, now we are on the side that creates chaos. That's straight out of the movie. You know, we are the rebels creating chaos, and their job was to create chaos against the invading enemy occupying force of North Korea in the film. And, you know, the film depicted them as being very effective at doing that. I think actual farmers and ranchers here in Central Texas are even more effective. They know how to get things done. That's all I'm going to say.
All I know is the globalists sit in their big compact cities looking at all the jellyfish, and they think everybody's like that.
They're not.
The public now has gone from being concerned and getting ready to almost ready and wanting it. I don't think the system gets it. That the people I've talked to, they're like ready. I mean, I'm just like, whoa, no.
People aren't buying into it. Maybe in the cities, if you live in an artificial construct city and you watch the artificial news, you know, CNN and so on. Then
yeah, the wirehead matrix heads, the matrix heads.
Your artificial medicine, which is vaccines, and artificial food, which is the aspartame milk that we...
No, the brain damaging systems, yeah.
So if you're lobotomized, yeah, you might buy into it. But if you live in the real world and you have real skills like welding or farming or, you know, car repair or taking care of cattle, if you have real skills, then you've got something. You know what the real world is.
Well, it's almost like if you have to do real work, you have to not be in the matrix to be able to do the work.
That's right. That's right, because people, you know, people who want to grab the guns, I think mostly they do that because guns scare them. They're very, very afraid of the guns themselves. Not even so much the people, but the guns themselves scare them. And when you see them try to shoot a gun for the first time, they'll do this bit where they lean back at the range. You've seen this?
Yeah.
They're leaning way back. They're not leaning forward into the shot. They're afraid of the object. They're trying to create as much distance from the object that's in their own hands as possible. It's an interesting psychological observation. Someone who's comfortable with guns will take an AR-15 and lean right into it and, you know, put their cheek right on the buttstock and get right in there and fire away because they understand that weapon is a tool.
Well, that's the thing. And these chicken-neck globalists with all their black uniforms and all this stuff, they're leaning back in their attack on us but trying to look like they're forward in it through their fear. And all they're doing is hitting the red alert button to get everybody ready to roll.